What's up, Straight Talk Society? This is your host, Trevor, and I'm back with another episode of Straight Talk with Trevor.
Because the ladies from Pour Your Heart Out
no topic
will be over
is
here
off
to
limits.
join the panel.
Plus, but it's a must, you gon' respect this. Plus, your nuts will touch the dust, you try to check this. You ain't
The
insane.
MMA brothers, Bones and Zay, have pre and post shows to the MMA shows. And I am your host, Mr. Straight Talk, the man with the greatest beard on YouTube. Oh, I love throwing that in there. Real quick, I am back on Facebook. I guess they took me out of jail. I was able to connect the channel back.
Due to the increasing level of incompetence and the major lack of transparency, the Straight Talk Society will no longer maintain a presence on Facebook.
Make sure and hit that like, share, and subscribe button. Man Talk Monday. This is the flagship show of the Straight Talk Society. This is the show that you're going to get all your, drama topics. This is a show that you may get your arguments. This is a show where we're going to talk about not one specific thing, but we dabble around the world of pop culture and the men just banter about it. So that's what this show is. But if this show isn't for you, and I don't know why it wouldn't be, but we also have other shows. The highly acclaimed Tape Fist Politics, Vancat, Mike, MD, and Ricardo do such a fantastic job with that. That's every Tuesday at 6 o'clock. Hey, if that doesn't fancy your boat, then be sure to tune into Wrestling with Reality. Today we have the return of Straight Talk Therapy Sessions with the one and only Dr. Mia. So y'all be sure and tune into that. So tonight we have a fantastic show tonight, the Straight Talk Society. We will not go over that 2.5 hour mark. So Mike, you ain't got no shirt on, right?
I never have clothes on, bro.
But I'm saying you like right on the like crazy.
My bad. I don't like clothes, bro. Anybody that knows me, my
crazy.
Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
Why? I want that.
Real authentic Jamaican street food. I just see you getting real cooking.
Wagwan.
Get the syrup. Did you know my Michelle? Get the syrup. Slow it down now. Slow it down. Yeah, man. I'm gonna take my glory and me creating myself and give Jesus. But the nice you always make now. But the nice guy don't want to work for you like a dead dog. You make the nice.
Monkeys.
Yeah, them place how we eat. And that's where you get the real flavor of the island.
Mega mash up this food,
Huh? We can make a dinner for people. A big dinner for like a whole family.
Yeah, but I am me some Dr. What the f... What the heck? What the heck? I had my mouth. What the f...
Do you really believe that garbage?
It's not about believing, it's a matter of fact.
So you believe.
Can you say why America is the greatest country in the world?
Diversity and opportunity.
Lewis? Freedom and freedom. So let's keep it that way.
Well, why is America not the greatest country in the world, Professor? That's my answer.
You're saying
yes. Let's talk about share a straight face. You're going to tell students that America is so star-spangled awesome that we're the only ones in the world who have freedom? Canada has freedom. Japan has freedom. The UK, France, Italy, Germany, Spain, Australia, Belgium has freedom. So 207 sovereign states in the world, like 180 of them have freedom. All right. And yet you, sorority girl, just in case you accidentally wander into a voting booth one day, there's some things you should know. One of them is there is absolutely no evidence to support the statement that we're the greatest country in the world. We're 7th in literacy, 27th in math, 22nd in science, 49th in life expectancy, 178th in infant mortality, 3rd in median household income, number 4 in labor force, and number 4 in exports. We lead the world in only 3 categories: number of incarcerated citizens per capita, number of adults who believe angels are real, and defense spending, where we spend more than the next 26 countries combined, 25 of whom are allies. Now, none of this is the fault of a 20-year-old college student, but you nonetheless are, without a doubt, a member of the worst generation ever. So when you ask what makes us the greatest country in the world, sure used to be. We stood up for what was right. We fought for moral reasons. We passed laws, struck down laws for moral reasons. We waged wars on poverty, not poor people. We sacrificed. We cared about our neighbors. We put our money where our mouths were, and we never beat our chest. We built great big things, made ungodly technological advances, explored the universe, cured disease, and we cultivated the world's greatest artists and the world's greatest economy. We reached for the stars, acted like men. We aspired to intelligence. We didn't belittle it. It didn't make us feel inferior. We didn't identify ourselves by who we voted for in the last election, and we didn't scare so easy. We were able to be all these things and do all these things because we were informed by great men who were revered. First step in solving any problem is recognizing there is one. America is not the greatest country in the world anymore.
Oh, shit. Here we go again.
You're full of shit.
All right, thank you.
No, shush. Shush.
In any country, prison is where society sends its failures. But in this country, society itself is failing.
Like to punch him in the face, I'll tell you.
We won the evangelicals. We won with young. We won with old. We won with highly educated. We won with poorly educated. I love the poorly educated.
That gives you crazy.
Grab him by the pussy.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
Stay more tough guy. Because you don't know what's coming to shut my mouth. Yes, I did. Hold it, tough guy. I'm not afraid of physical. Hold it. Don't sit there and tell me I'm not.
There's an old saying in Tennessee, I know it's in Texas, probably in Tennessee, that says, "Fool me once, shame on you. You fool me, we can't get fooled again."
They're bringing drugs, they're bringing crime, they're rapists, and some, I assume, are good people. Stand back and stand by with your shut up.
Last thing was Olivia Gondak. It says that I wanted to eat her pussy. Olivia Gondak. I've never said that in my life to her. I would never do that. I'm happily married. I've got more than enough to eat at home. Thank you very much.
You got to come see us when you come to New York, VP Biden.
I will.
It's a long way until November. We got more questions.
You got more questions, but I tell you, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black.
Okay. I could stand in the middle of Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody, and I wouldn't lose any voters, okay? It's like incredible.
I went to an Ivy League school. I'm very highly educated. I know words. I have the best words.
We now have a gun on every table. We're ready to start shooting.
By the way, maybe you could inject some bleach in your arm, and that would take care of it. This is the same man.
Sarcastic.
That was...
Even though they're trying to impeach the son of a bitch. Can you believe that? You believe that? That's enough. Put down the mic.
Mr. President, are you worried about indictments coming down in this investigation?
Punch him in the face, I'll tell you.
If I may ask
Peter,
one other
ahead.
question, are you worried?
That's enough. That's enough.
Mr. President, I was going to ask one other.
I don't want reality. I'm asking the question: which one is better? That's exactly what it is.
Got it on tape.
What a stupid son of a bitch.
I don't like words that hide the truth. I don't like words that conceal reality. I don't like euphemisms or euphemistic language. And American English is loaded with euphemisms because Americans have a lot of trouble dealing with reality. Americans have trouble facing the truth. So they invent a kind of a soft language to protect themselves from it. And it gets worse with every generation. For some reason, it just keeps getting worse.
How stupid are these politicians to allow this to happen?
Politics.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Yet again, we're back for another TFP Tuesday. I'm Venkat, and I'm joined here with the world's most dangerous political panel. Here we got MD. What's going on, MD?
Peace. What's going on? What's happening?
All right. Great to have you here again and for another week at TFP. Before we get into the show, I do want to acknowledge something. So we have an amazing supporter to the Straight Talk Society, Tequila. We've got word that her family has had a tragedy, and we just want to acknowledge, her efforts. And she's just an amazing person, and our hearts go out to her dealing with this dark time in her family. So we just wanted to make sure that everyone knows. There we go. There's a super chat. No, not super chat. We're really a oh God, what they call it?
Cash App.
Cash App. Right. Thanks, MD. Yeah. So you can donate. You can donate to Tequila. They're going through a death in the family there, and she's been amazing, phenomenal, supporting Trevor's vision with Straight Talk Society. She's just phenomenal all around. So it's great to see her, backing Trevor and just being just an awesome person. So our hearts go out to her in this tough time that she's going through right now.
No doubt. Prayers up to her.
All right. So this week, the subject that we're going to be covering on the lead story is going to be homelessness. Trevor, in a show earlier this week, he mentioned that, we're doing a different type of show today. It's not really politics based, but I would push back and say pretty much this is as politics as you can get as far as the homeless situation. Politics is heavily, deeply involved in this and so much more that affects our society. So before we get into the topic, let's just go right into our lead story, and we'll be back on the other end.
The vice president of the National Homeless Coalition says every state has seen an increase in homelessness since the start of the pandemic, but it's a problem that existed long before COVID-19.
Our political reporter, Morgan Reiner, has more on which policies are working around the nation and which ones are not.
This is the most visible form of homelessness. The camps you see under freeways and along the streets across California.
You know, that's kind of the bottom, you know, showing how do we prevent getting there.
But there's a lot that does not meet the eye.
People really should not judge people that are going through homelessness because you really don't know what led them to get there.
Take Jasmine McIntyre, for example. You won't see her on the streets, but she is homeless, couch hopping from one friend's house to the next.
I had to swallow my pride a lot.
Or this woman, Jane. She's living in her car and asked me not to show her face on camera.
I wouldn't do it, but the first thing I would like to do is rob a bank. I mean, you know, just to live. And that's terrible. I shouldn't feel that way.
The most recent numbers from the United States Interagency on Homelessness recorded are from 2020, just before the pandemic. From 2010 to 2020, Florida saw a decrease of about 30,000. Texas also saw a decrease of almost 8,000. New York saw an increase of about 26,000, but California saw the biggest increase at 38,000. What's working elsewhere? Florida has reduced homelessness by focusing on veterans. California accounts for 12% of the U.S. population, but is home to 28% of the country's homeless veterans.
In Texas, you'll also see the Housing First initiatives in communities have really helped to help reduce numbers.
Does California not have those?
I think California has had those initiatives in pockets.
I brought what she said to one of Governor Gavin Newsom's top homeless advisors, Sacramento Mayor Darrell Steinberg.
The state itself, again, has provided unprecedented resources, much more than Texas or Florida, to convert motels into housing, and veterans are always at the top of the priority list.
What about New York? New York has a rate of homelessness similar to San Francisco and LA, but it has a different character. It's not as obvious.
New York has a right to shelters because legal aid attorneys took the city to court, a couple decades ago, and they forced the city to do something about what at the time was a pretty visible homeless problem.
As of January 2020, 72% of California's homeless population is unsheltered. They live outside.
Do you believe that should be implemented in California?
I think it should, but I think we should go a step farther. I think it should be a legal right to housing.
Something he said the state's task force did recommend to the governor and legislature right before the pandemic.
We don't say it's optional to provide a free public education for children. We require the building of public schools. We mandate it because it matters.
Steinberg and all three other experts I spoke to, including the director of the Sacramento Housing Alliance, agreed the number one solution is affordable housing. California is home to 7 out of 10 of the most expensive cities for tenants. The median California home is about 2.5 times more expensive than the average national home.
The broader housing and economic conditions are just going in the opposite direction. You can have a significant infusion of more, homeless assistance and prevention and still see numbers rise.
To combat this, Newsom has signed 30 housing bills in 2021, and the state budget allocated $12 billion to help mitigate homelessness.
We can't cure it, but I think we can make it better.
The National Coalition on Homelessness says the numbers grossly underestimate the true number of homeless people, leaving out children, which many parents don't want recorded out of fear the kids will be taken away.
Nationally, homelessness has risen to over 500,000 people. The Golden State now makes up nearly a third of the nation's homeless population. The reasons are numerous: the high cost of living from the tech boom, the economic downturn during the pandemic, and mental health crises, all adding to San Francisco's homeless population. Many across the state say they're frustrated with the growing encampments in their cities.
It looks like a junkyard on our block, and it's just not safe.
It's appalling.
It's absolutely appalling. It's not safe. It's unsanitary.
Over the summer, President Biden announcing an extra $3 billion in investment. But on the campaign trail, GOP presidential hopefuls have used the homeless crisis to slam Democratic leadership. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis and former President Donald Trump investing in ads targeting California voters.
No wonder why we've had so many people move from San Francisco to Florida over the last few years.
We will ban urban camping. Violators of these bans will be arrested, but they will be given the option to accept treatment and services if they're willing to be rehabilitated. Many of them don't want that.
Freenbach says this essentially criminalizes the homeless. What are the top 3 things the federal government can do in this moment?
The federal government can quickly invest in housing vouchers. The federal government needs to invest in prevention so that there's short, medium, and long-term housing subsidies when there's a catastrophic health issue or a loss of job or something like that is happening. Having those prevention dollars is key. And thirdly, I'd say is a huge thing is an investment in behavioral health.
All right, so this is the lead story, homelessness, and we'd like to welcome Ricardo to the panel. What's up, Ricardo?
What's up, everybody? What's up? What's up?
All right. So I'd like to start with MD. We'll get MD's take, and then we'll go into Ricardo.
All right, so we're talking about the homeless situation in the United States.
Right.
So a couple of facts that you can't deny. A large part, and this is the dichotomy of the demographics on in which we live, but it's undeniable. The simple fact that you have the epidemic of homelessness in what we would consider quote unquote democratic cities tells the story of the disinterest. I'm not necessarily the disinterest, but the indifference of how we view society in terms of where we live. I can't speak for West Palm Beach or any other city in South Florida, but I know in a lot of the major cities in the South, a lot of major cities like New York, Chicago, LA, San Francisco, this and that, there's a disproportionate aspect of how we view housing regulation. A big reason why I don't rock with the Democratic Party is how they view certain allocation of living in these cities. For instance, one of the reasons why I talk the way I talk about the Democratic Party is the way that they do zoning laws. Anybody know what a zoning law is? A zoning law is essentially regulation on residential property on and how it's invested, allocated, distributed, so on and so forth. A lot of the problems that we see in major democratic cities is the number one reason behind it is zoning. We're zoning condos left and right, giving regulation, giving subsidies to high rises and condos and apartment complexes that at the end of the day, they're simply not affordable. And we're seeing less and less of affordable housing being constituted within these zoning laws. Fun fact, under Joe Biden, we've had the least amount of affordable housing being distributed under zoning laws in the United States. That's just what it is. I mean, you could take your political ideology out of it. That's just a fact. We're seeing less and less of affordable housing, more and more of quote unquote poverty regulations in these same cities. The problem with that is it's a revolving door. A lot of these people get short-term subsidies via services, short-term housing, this and that, but they just end up right back in the position of homelessness because we're not giving them services to adequate themselves within the society in which they live. Or on the Republican side, we just tell them, hey, just get the hell out the city and go somewhere where you can afford to live. You know what I'm saying? We got now up under Republican rule, basic poverty and homelessness is being criminalized, where they're taking away tent cities, they're taking away certain social service nets, i.e., TANF, food stamp, this and that, and thinking that'll be a solution on the right wing side. It's not. The fact of the matter is, we have to understand from a social aspect, and this is coming from me, and I ain't even a left wing guy. We have to understand in order to get rid of homelessness, we have to put these people in position to be able to afford to live. How do you do that? You bring privatized companies in that can eat off these regulations, these zoning laws that the rest of these big wig contractors are. You have to have parity when it comes to housing construction. If you're gonna put up a $2,500 apartment complex, through parity, you got to put up $1,000 apartment complex, because you have to take into consideration your population. Also, what that will do, contrary to popular belief, it will actually add to the tax benefit of that city. San Francisco, I saw a report. San Francisco last year spent $500 million on the homelessness problem in San Francisco. Yet they got one of the biggest, still to this day, homeless populations in the country. Why is that? It's because they're putting the money toward what they perceive to be short-term services for the people and not giving a long-term solution. So they spending dollar after dollar after dollar on a revolving door instead of making it a governmental priority to put permanent housing in place within the city. How do you do that? You loosen up the regulation on zoning law. And I'll end with that.
Okay, MD. A lot of what you said, I can understand, and I can agree with a lot of what you said. You made some valid, really good points. Um, Ricardo, your point of view on this?
All right, so I'm just gonna probably be on the opposite side of this. I just wanted, I mean, I agree with some of the points that you've made, MD, in terms of the zoning laws being a major issue in certain cities. What I would push back on, though, is that even though you have it being or pertaining to homelessness being a large issue in the Democratic major cities, I would say homelessness affects every single American citizen, not just the Democratic cities. It's also affecting the Republican cities as well, if we want to put it into that context of like the political side. Look, my major issue with this is that affordable housing isn't being built. From the past 2 years, which would have brought us into pre-COVID conditions. So this would have been 2020. The government, you mean to tell me the government at this, well, if we're gonna interject the government into this, none of the government bodies knew that homelessness was going to become a problem. This has been an issue that was ongoing from like 2 years or even prior 2 years. It's becoming a problem. Another issue I have with homelessness and major cities in general, including the one that I live in, text of, oh, those people that are going to be coming in is going to drive down the property value and all of that stuff. What about hardworking people that work on a regular basis that will say have nothing to do with negativity, but just go about the business, going to work, come home, do the same thing? Or let's just put it this way. If we're going to build affordable housing, why not do it in the context of putting all teachers in an affordable housing and then try to elevate the I guess what you would say, like the working class people to elevate more, or something in that context. It's always something that's negative in terms of even going to my my local cities what you call it, meetings that they usually have. It's the same general thing that I'm hearing over and over again. Oh, why are we not? Why would we want to put affordable housing in our neighborhoods or in our communities? Because you have hardworking people that can't afford certain things anymore. With the cost of living going that astronomically high, I'm surprised. And this is something that if anybody knows me, I complain about every single day. Why is cereal at $8 in terms of purchasing? Like, and it's not even like a big box. It's a tiny, minuscule box that you're basically forcing people to pay for. The cost of living is too high. So then, therefore, people are becoming more. They can't afford to pay rent. It's crazy to me. The cost of living is too high. When then you're gonna factor in global warming now, that's going to come into play, where you're having like hurricanes, which thank God South Florida wasn't affected by this year, but it's going to go into that context of like the large major cities like New York now is getting flooding. What happened to people who live in basements that are getting flooded out? Then they're going to become homeless. So then how do we solve that issue? We've been hearing for years from, what's that guy's name that did that whole global warming thing, Al Gore, that global warming was eventually going to catch up to us. Here we are. So that's a major driver to homelessness. Then you're going to think about
Inconvenient truth.
there you go, that movie. I mean, everybody
Yeah.
knows, but it's now literally caught up to us, because here we are. We had Sandy that affected New York, which is the largest metropolitan city in the entire continental US. If it continues, then you have Houston, which is not too far behind, and then you have, so these major cities are going to be affected by global warming, which is going to cause the homelessness issue to arise. My major problem now is, what are we going to be doing about this? This is not just a Democratic issue. This is everybody's issue, because sooner rather than later, we're going to hear complaints from people from all sides, whether or not they want people who they deemed to be qualified people to be living in their neighborhood or communities, or the homeless people that are like, oh, coming out of the left field, probably like the immigrants or the whatnot. So then, in terms of my major gripe has always been, what do we do about the issue? How do we solve it? And then basically what MD has said is the zoning laws is one. My other thing is the state interject and then try to force some of these insurance companies to try to curtail the rising costs that we're seeing. Everybody that I've worked with and my employer is complaining about the insurance costs going up. And my governor, who is now running for president, I don't know why, deal with your major issue in your backyard before you jump into the national. You need to be going to these insurance companies and tell them, hey, like, listen, find some solution here and lower the insurance costs. But then we're in a capitalistic country, so what do we expect? You're going to hear people again say, well, you should have known in context what you were getting involved in when you purchased your home, that insurance was going to be high. Yes, I understand that. But at the same time, you could try to be like, a little bit helpful, because God forbid we go through another natural disaster again. I mean, is FEMA going to help us? Nah. I mean, they're the government really, but there's only so much FEMA can do. There's only so much the Red Cross could do. How do we solve this? Like, this is the problem that I'm having, is that I'm hearing it's always it's a Democratic thing. No, it's everybody. It's where I would say all parties matter here, because this is a national issue. Homelessness is not going anywhere. It seems to be escalating more and more each and every year since or during or pre-COVID. We're now post-COVID, and it's still a problem. So how do we fix this? This is where I need everyone to now collectively, in their brain cells and whatnot, come together here and say, well, do we then go to our local leaders, which they can barely do that much? Then do we then go to our elected officials, who are just sitting there wasting time doing God he knows what? Or then do we go to the president, who, MD mentioned, nothing has been done under his banner so far? So then do we then take this to the next election cycle, and then nothing is being done? So how do we curtail or fix this issue that's homelessness? I would love to know.
Hey, let me ask y'all a question. In Florida, is it required for y'all to have homeowners insurance?
Yeah,
yes.
Of course. Yeah.
You know that's unconstitutional, right? No, I'm being serious.
Well, aren't Republicans supposed to be all about the Constitution? Because Republicans are running this state.
Hey, again, that's Tweedledee, Tweedledum. I mean, you pick from the one. But I'm saying it's unconstitutional because you got something called house and home in terms of regulation, right? As a and you could put it in the castle doctrine if you want to, but under house and home, I'm just speaking simply on Georgia. Under house and home, there's no your house can't move. It ain't like the movie Up. You can't fly around in your house, right? There,
Exactly.
there's no liability to anybody else's property versus your property. Different with a car. I would argue that having insurance on a car is legal based on the fact that you can affect somebody else's personal property based off that. You can't do it with a house.
Right.
Therefore, homeowners insurance is technically unconstitutional. Now, it's up to you if you want to have somebody come and try to play arsonist and blow up your house or steal like that. That's up to you. But technically, you don't have to have homeowners insurance because you're not affecting anybody else's property. Second thing, I'll say real quick before you go, Van Cat. That's why it's important to look at zoning laws in these particular cities. And we all know they put up condos left and right. Another question: are those condos from a wholesale aspect? Are those condos rent or own? That's a trick question.
I think they're both because you have a lot of people
They're both because people buy them, right, and then they rent them out.
Right.
Right,
Right.
but some of these people that are buying them are people who live overseas that come here and then do like, oh, I'm going to do a vacation thing. And
Yep, that's very
I agree.
problematic too.
I agree. I'm not gonna argue about that. But the reason people put the argument of property tax or the equity in their home is based on that. The problem is parity. You have to have parity in order to equal out the equity of property. The issue is through zoning laws, when these contractors come in and build these multi-story units and basing it off of house equity and not rental property, that's the issue. That's why you can't and I'm talking from a capitalist aspect. If I'm building a damn, is somebody calling me? Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you.
Am I still there? I'm sorry.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Hear you.
Okay, if I'm building a condo and I'm putting them up for mortgages, and next to my condo is an apartment complex that's affordable housing, technically the worth of my property is going to go down based off of that. From a capitalist aspect, the issue is we have to have more to equal out what's going on with parity in terms of property taxes, equity in property, so on and so forth. That's the issue we having. That's why you got to drive for gentrification, pushing out certain demographics, so on and so forth. That's not going to come from federal funding. That's not going to come from a federal mandate. That's got to come from city municipalities understanding that you must have parity. And in fact, through concept, you will probably end up garnering more property tax based on the fact that you're pushing out.
Because the insurance companies are just leaving left and right. Major insurance companies, and they're pretty much saying, "Hey, Florida is a hotbed for hurricanes and all kinds of disasters, and we're not going to spend the money." So Ron DeSantis is running for president while you have this big disaster of a situation going on in the background, and he's not dealing with it. There's things that he could do, but they're not really focused on it. So a lot of insurers are leaving the state, and it's costing homeowners even more in an already overly expensive industry, which is the home and housing industry. So it's just a disaster, and we need actual solutions, and we need to implement them as quickly as possible.
Hey, one more thing, Van Cat, my bad. One more thing.
Yeah,
I saw in the comments, Trevor said, well, my mortgage is cheaper than my rent. Here's the issue as far as the homeless aspect. I can almost guarantee people that are homeless, that are in a situation with low income, probably don't have the credit to get mortgages. So, you know, there's that too. In my opinion, in my libertarian mind, why in the hell should I have to show you my credit history to lay
Right.
my head somewhere?
Right. Right. I 100% agree with that.
Yep, I agree with that.
So that's my pushback on what Trevor said.
Okay. So I want to show another short video here, dealing with how we try to shame or stigmatize homeless people. This is coming from Fox News, Jesse Waters. We'll be right back. Let's take a look at this video.
Homelessness isn't about lack of affordable housing. It's about drug addicts that want to wander around and live in tents on the sidewalk. And so you can't coddle antisocial behavior. You can't subsidize antisocial behavior. You have to stigmatize it. You can't celebrate people with purple hair, with nose rings, 4 kids with 4 different men who are dressed like trash and make them out to be some sort of cutting edge heroes. You have to call them what they are. These are people that have failed in life and they're on their deathbed.
Here are some statistics. Once upon a time, mass homelessness did not exist in the United States. The phenomenon, as we now know as homelessness, pervasive, unremarkable, seemingly intractable, arose in the 1980s. In 1970, the US had a surplus of 300,000 affordable rental homes under President Reagan, my guy. Federal spending on low-income housing plummeted from 32 billion to 7 billion. Affordable units evaporated, and with them, many of the legal safeguards allowing poor tenants to stay in the relative few that remained. And meanwhile, from 1985 to 2020, rent prices increased from 149%, while income grew just 35%. And that simple math will prove to you that it is impossible to afford to pay rent. Rent prices have increased about 4 times faster. Here's a chart that shows that. Wow. That huge gap is unsustainable, especially if it keeps growing at slopes that are that disparate. Now, maybe it's catching up. That last little bit seemed like it's they're kind of going hand in hand, but until that gap starts to shrink, we can't get back to the thing that everybody told you. They told you that you pay 1/3 of your income on rent, it's gonna be fine, but people aren't doing that anymore. It's not possible. Yeah. And a reason that's the problem, Jesse, Wessie, is because developers do come in and bulldoze that area. And what they build after that is not a solution. It's not housing for the people whose places to live just got bulldozed. It's high rises. It's really expensive housing. And I'll spot you. Like, there's Democratic voters in Los Angeles who are all about it. Yep. And that's a problem. And here.
All right, so interesting video there. First of all, if being ignorant was a person, Jesse Waters just using every stereotype under the blue moon. But you know, some interesting statistics that were showing the housing costs going up 149%, while people's actual income only went up about 35% over the decades. So that right there is very problematic, and you can see why we're facing the kind of issues that we are facing. Any thoughts on this before we go on?
Go ahead, Ricardo.
I can't even. I'm trying to like control my enragement here, but I'm gonna try to do it in a very subtly, very nice, common way. When you see or hear, and this is my issue, and I just mentioned it a moment ago before this segment piece came up, is the negative connotation that you hear when it comes to working class, or when it comes to people who are in a position of about to be homeless, or rather are about to be homeless, or is basically homeless. The problem that I have is the negative connotation. Not everybody that becomes homeless or is homeless are drug dealers or addicts or prostitutes, or rather, it's regular people like you.
Or have green hair.
Or your color hair. They're regular people like you and I who get up every day, go to work, come home from work and have to deal with. And yes, you have people who have multiple kids, probably one, probably two, probably by different variables of or distribution of spouses here and there. That's neither here or there. That's not the and yes, maybe for some people it might be a problem, but what about people that are nuclear family who are still homeless and are trying their hardest to try to prevent themselves from being homeless, but then are in a precarious position? You're gonna call them a regular Joe Smo, a drug dealer, and act like, are you kidding me right now? This is the thought process that people have. I mean, they need to grow up. Do you not listen, or do you not see other countries that the same thing is applicable? Like I mentioned, I grew up in an affordable housing development. Well, I wouldn't say development, but an apartment building in Toronto. I grew up fine. There was nothing wrong with me. I went to school like every other student kid would, and turned out fine. I think this negative thing is something that I need people to get out of their mind or time frame. And mind you, the city that I grew up in is, yes, probably more leaning on conservative / liberal-ish type of political spectrum. With that being stated, it was more social. I mean, growing up in Canada, you deal with socialism more so than here. But I would argue the point, because you have 400 million people compared to like 30 million people. There's a uneven distribution there. But with that being stated, again, the negative connotation, can we move forward past that? Because this has always been my problem with people. I've heard it over and over again. It's like, oh, but that person over here is no, they're regular people that become homeless, who have nuclear families, who don't commit crimes, who have it hard. The price of rent is going astronomically high. It's actually moved past the needle since the pandemic, and it keeps increasing, and nothing is being done. Not a damn thing. It's gonna probably become an election issue. I can guarantee you that, because again, when homeless people come into play here, you're gonna get arguments from people saying, "Oh, I don't want them here," or "Oh, they're gonna be a problem," or "Oh, there's gonna be nice," and "Oh, they make the property value go down." But then nobody speaks of how do we call the issue, and that's again the same thing I keep bringing up. What are we gonna do about it? Because there's only so much lipstick on the pig you can put on before it starts spiraling out of control. And this is not gonna be just a Democratic issue; it's gonna become a Republican issue as well. So no matter how much they try to mask and make it sound like, oh, it's about people who are like working or have money, or it comes across to me the way people speak sometimes, it's the rich working class people, or the people that can afford stuff, that have a problem with people who are less than they're coming into my neighborhood and becoming an issue. Rather than that, let's see how we can build affordable housing. What's the solution? Do we then put low income people who are willing and able to work and be beneficial towards society in an apartment building that they could afford, that's not so astronomically high in terms of rent price? Do we put regular working class people, like say firefighters or teachers, in one building, and then try to make that a school zone? Or what's the amicable solution that we could come up with, instead of people then saying negative things that just are not applicable or don't make sense? I'm not saying they don't happen, where you have drug dealers and whatnot in certain areas, or try to do certain things, but again, homelessness is across the board. It can happen to anybody, not just people who are drug dealers, not just people who have different multiple years, not just people who have different baby mamas and baby daddies. It affects everybody across the political spectrum. And we just need to move past this negative connotation of, oh, it's this person or it's that person, or it's just a generalization that I have a problem with. Move past that. It's your regular working class person that gets up every day to work that have a problem with homelessness. And like you mentioned, Venkat, again, my governor, I have no idea what this is doing at this point, because not only is the insurance a problem that creates the homelessness, we're going to talk about the immigrants that are coming in. That's going to be an issue for everybody when it comes to homelessness. Then you're going to have natural disasters. That's going to be a problem when it comes to homelessness. Then we're going to talk about, the cost of living that seems to be going higher. And then if, God forbid, the government strike goes through in the coming weeks, how that's going to affect everybody. So there's a number of variable factors that's creating homelessness across this country. And yet we are not seeming to bring any solutionable, if that's the wrong word here, way of curbing or curtailing the homelessness that we're facing. And especially in Florida, where it's a red state, I am very deeply surprised that it's not more higher than it's supposed to be. But that's going to be coming into play too, because even though the illegal immigrants, as they call them in the conservative groups, is going up north, don't forget that South Florida is a gateway when it comes to Latin American people coming through. So don't you think that's going to be a problem too at some point? I leave you with that. That's all I have to say.
Well, again, you know, a part of it is optics, right? So we, you know, us as, like, I guess, reactionary people, we deal with a lot of optics. We deal with Skid Row and Kensington and Philadelphia and Tent City here in Atlanta, blah, blah, blah. We go off of what we see, not knowing the true acumen of the reality of it, right? When we talk about places like Skid Row and Kensington and all of that, we see, and you know, we've seen the videos in Philadelphia, people leaning and doing all that stuff out in the street. That's the optics that we see. So we base in our own minds that reality being the epitome of homelessness. We know it's not. You know what I'm saying? We look at Skid Row and we see people that just don't give a damn no more, and just lines and lines of tents. We know that's not the true culmination of what homelessness is in LA. You know what I'm saying? Like you said, it's the everyday people just struggling to make ends meet. You know what I'm saying? Getting up, going to work every day, feeding their family, blah, blah, blah. They just, throughout all of that, they can't afford to live anywhere. So we know what the true testament of the reality of homelessness, but we allow talking heads on social media and on TV spin it into a political a fiasco. That's what it comes down to at the end of the day. And that's where you get a lot of your stereotypes, a lot of your fascist, nationalist talking heads give a perception on what homelessness is in America, to the aspect of Democratic versus Republican. My opinion, the reason that the numbers are like that in Florida, because Republicans know how to hide a situation to their constituency. Republicans will just get you up out of there. You got gentrification and you got ultra gentrification. Gentrification with, in the sense of, will provide a couple of crumbs of goods and services in a democratically led party, but it's going to be obvious that it's still a problem. Whereas in a Republican city, like, I don't know, let's say Houston, I guess you could put South Florida, any city in South Florida in there, they're going to get you up out of there. That's just what it is. You know what I'm saying? And not only are they going to get you up out of there, they're going to criminalize your poverty. That's the difference.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So the numbers are going to reflect that. It's going to be a falsehood, but the numbers are going to reflect it based on where you're at a particular time. In a democratically led city, you're going to be out on the street, being looked at as a distraught minority.
Or
in a Republican city, you ain't gonna be on the street because you're gonna be in a jail cell. That's the difference.
Interesting. I mean, all right. So take a look at this. I found this here. This is a troubling situation that the planet is in right now. I mean, you got. Let me get this comment out of the way here. 1 second. All right. So half of the planet the wealth of half of the planet is owned by 62 people. And then the other half is everybody else. I mean, the homelessness is going to happen due to poverty. And if you have no economic opportunity, and if you're working for less and less and less, and everything is costing more and more, I mean, you could see why things are so skewed. Yes, everything we talked about today are all elements of what is going on and what is causing the problem. But I agree with MD. I think that the whole thought process of if you're gonna make a place that's more expensive, then you should counter that with affordable places. I think that's good and everything, but this is something we can't really get past right here. This is very problematic, and a lot of problems are coming from this right here, in my assertion.
So redistribution of wealth is what you're talking about at the end of the day.
Well, I think, how do we get here? I think I don't know. I mean, you could say redistribution. I don't know, but clearly something is a foul. 62 people have half of the money in the world. Where are you going to go? That means that half of the world is pretty much working for crumbs from those 62 people. Those 62 people control pretty much everything. So you talk income inequality, you're talking poverty, you're talking all these issues, everything is going to just be exponentially worse. This is a real problem that you can't ignore here. This is going to affect a lot of the issues that we're talking about. But I don't know, man. 62 people. I just can't get over that.
Yeah, Van Cat looking for an argument. Hey, listen. at the end of
I'm
the day,
not looking for an argument. I'm just presenting it, man. I don't think people talk enough about this.
MD said he's looking for an argument.
I'm not. I promise you, I'm not.
I get what you're saying, Van Cat. At the end of the day, me personally, I don't believe in income inequality based on the fact that people have a right to pay whatever they want, blah, blah, this and that. The issue is the how do we view society in terms of humanitarianism? That's the issue that's where I come in with this whole basis of homelessness. I can't persecute the 1% and not have a solution for the 99. You know what I'm saying? If we're gonna talk about it in relative terms, I have to talk, and that goes back to your point where you said at the beginning of the show. All of this is political. All of it. When we talk about the aspect of how we view the society as a whole and how we make sure that everybody has the right to live, is the aspect where we come in with politics. Again, I say, and this is just my opinion, like I said in the beginning of the show, the number one reason for homelessness in America is zoning laws. Because we're giving a facade of a premium living within the social society in these major cities, we're taking away from the aspect of providing equal and not necessarily equal housing, but equal means of living to the unfortunate majority or the unfortunate few, however you want to look at it. If we go to these, like Ricardo was saying, go to these city council meetings. Let it be known how individual property is being affected based on the fact that you have condos, you have houses, you have commercial buildings that are all being affected based on proximity. Then you could come up with a solution on how to redistribute land based off certain zoning regulations to adequate further acceleration of affordable housing. But because we don't look at it that way, because in the eyes of our mayors, our city councilmen, our aldermen, our CEOs, our COOs, we're looking at how can I basically market my city.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying?
I got your point.
Good marketing is we have businesses here, we got headquarters here, blah blah blah, this and that. We're going to give city regulations to contractors to provide premium housing for these people to come in and enlarge our city. Not taking into account that you also have a probably equal proportionate number of people that can't afford any of this. Those people fall by the wayside. But from a democratic aspect, we're allocating such and such amount of dollars for that. But it's a revolving door. All of us know that. Zoning laws are the key. And that's just what it is. But from a market aspect, it's going to be pushback. And that's where the fight's going to have to be.
Now, sorry to interject, MD. Now, in terms of a solution, do you think that when you apply the zoning laws that you mentioned here, if, say, for instance, in a city that is, because in my city they're doing a number of constructions, one of the solutions that I think people could, or the council could do or bring up to these developers when they're doing their development is say, hey, if you want to be coming into our city to make these huge condos or housing developments or whatnot, why don't you just distribute probably 1 or 2% or maybe 5% towards affordable housing? So say, for instance, people who want to, it's crazy the way I'm trying to think of it. Instead of you making a big old play for the development, why don't you allow people to purchase a part of the apartment that would be going towards the affordable housing sector? And you know what I mean, in terms of like an amicable solution. Because if you have all these developers coming in, if we're going to do the zoning law, why not force them, is what I'm trying to say, force them to then apply affordable housing aspects towards these development? I think that would be a solution that they could bring to the table, instead of just making them come in, gentrifying the neighborhood, and then going about their way saying whatever, this and that. I think it's a fair solution where you could just force the developer to say, hey, listen, you're going to come into Coral Springs, you're going to come into North Lauderdale, you're going to come into whatnot, Tamarack, blah, blah, blah. If you're going to come in, you're going to actually have to put part of your pieces towards affordable housing. Let there be like 10% allocated towards in the building affordable housing, or to people who are working class, or it's something. Because I was speaking to a local councilman about this. I'm like, why are you guys not forcing these developers to come in? And they're like, oh, but it's a negative connotation to the word working class, or there's a negative connotation to affordable housing, or people will come in. But I'm like, that's where you're forcing them to do something that is going to be distribution wise, of making the city a little bit more accessible. I'm feeling to get your point as for like, are you making them dictate, or you're dictating to them? So they were like, well, there's so much that goes into it. I understand there's so much that goes into allowing, say, the said developers coming in, but the solution should be on the table where we're forcing, or we're letting these council men or women that are up there that are doing these meetings say, listen, force them, or find some way to tell them, hey, if you're going to make these big developments that are just going to gentrify a neighborhood, why don't you allocate such and such, or a portion of that development towards affordable housing, or allow people who can afford it, who can be, regular people, regular Joe Schmoes that are not going to be an inconvenience or a nuisance, live in the building. But, but then that won't work, because then everybody has their own, the same thing that MD is just mentioning just now. Everybody has their own way of, in terms of marketing wise, they're not going to allow certain things in, because to them it's not going to be fair or equitable or whatnot. So again, my thing has always been, what's the solution? Because I could go into socialism part of this, but what's the solution?
Well, that would make sense. That would make sense if we talk about all rental properties. But me and you both know that's usually not how it goes. Example: if I'm building a $5 million development, and I'm putting most of the units are going to be mortgageable, and then 10-15% of them are going to be low income rental properties. What's going to happen to the property value of that development? You and I both know what's going to happen. That's why we have to zone more rental properties. That's just what it is. That's just what it is. Everybody can't mortgage. I don't own my home. I rent. So I mean, you got to start somewhere. And then what I'm saying is the parity has to be there between mortgages and rentals. It's got to be there.
I agree with you.
The issue is you got to find the sweet spot in averaging out the equity of these developments. That's what it's got to be figured out.
But what happened?
And I think a lot of people just lazy. They don't want to do it. You know what I'm saying?
True. But then what about those people that consistently, like, when you talk to some people and you say to them, man, doesn't ever occur to you that you could probably like try to aim to get a house, someday, and they're like, nah, I'm comfortable where I'm at. I thought once upon a time the American dream was to own a home. Like most people are not even. It's either they have a home or it went to foreclosure, or some people are just choosing to sell the homes now and then go back to like their parents' home or somewhere where they're like, you have what do you call like a compound, a compound where the whole family lives in one specific area or whatnot. Like that's, to me, what happened to the reach and the goal of aiming or owning a home. That's not where most people
circumstance, man. That's all it is. The reason I don't own a home is because where my kids go to school at is where they want to go to school. I don't want to take them out of that. You know what I mean? Unfortunately, where they go to school, it's high as hell. You know what I'm saying? In terms of being able to get the capital to get the house. You know what I'm saying?
Got you.
So I mean I can go anywhere else in Georgia and go buy a house. You know what I'm saying? But I don't want to be in adherence to certain things from a personal aspect. Now that's just my personal testimony about that. I ain't saying it ain't possible. You know what I'm saying? I just don't want to spend the money at the end of the day. Let's just keep it real. You know what I'm saying? I like tricking on the weekend, so that's where my capital is at. But in any event,
at least you said it.
But in any event, again, that's not the circumstance of a lot of people. Probably the majority of people that live in the United States. You know what I'm saying? You got to take into consideration down payment, closing costs, location, blah blah blah. Ain't nobody got time for that. People just want to get up and go to work every day and get a check on Friday.
Facts.
So the aspect of owning a home is more of a long-term solution. But as of right now, people just need somewhere to stay. You know what I'm saying? And again, I'm a libertarian. I don't think credit history, so on and so forth, should even be tied to housing at all. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's stupid.
Credit history shouldn't be tied into anything that's a necessity.
I mean, hell, buying something is just like buying anything else. If you don't pay the rent, you get your ass kicked out. That's the end of that. You know what I'm saying? I shouldn't have to prove to you that I'm paying in order for you to give me a house. If I don't pay, I'm out. That's just what it is. I ain't got no problem with that.
That's a capitalistic way.
I mean, no, I can't let you get away with that. The capitalistic way is for profit. If I'm for profit, I'm not worried about your credit history, especially if you're paying me first month free. I mean, first month rent. At the end of the day, I'm looking to make money. If you don't give me an opportunity to make my money, i.e., rent, mortgage, whatever, don't let the dough hit you on the way out. That's capitalism. Credit history is based off a analytical subsection of capitalism. just another way for another corporate entity to make money. You know what I'm saying? I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that at all. Experience can kiss my ass. Like, you know, it is what it is.
I got you.
All right. So pretty much we're saying the issue of homelessness needs to be fixed by means of only finding certain ways to set up, like with zoning and different bills and ways around legislation to fix homelessness. But the income inequality does not. The income inequality is not a aspect of it, or is not a part of it. Let's rewind back to the statistic. 35% increase of per people's income versus the housing costs going up 149%. So the income aspect is not the issue. I'm asking.
I would say no. Again, when you're talking about a median income rate in a specific area, your goods and services have to reflect that. So I'm not gonna blame it on income inequality. Like I said, I don't believe in income inequality first and foremost.
You don't believe in it?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I do believe in I guess you would say an inequitable way of resourcing services to people in a specific area. That's what I believe in. And housing is one of them. You know what I'm saying? How can you, if a median income is $50,000 in a particular area, yet the rent is $2,500, how can you justify that? You know what I'm saying? You just can't do it.
Right.
So what I'm saying is there has to, when it comes to goods, services, i.e. housing, healthcare, blah blah blah, all this stuff has to be relative to your populace. You know what I'm saying? In order for your municipality to be successful. That's the issue. Again, I keep going back to zoning laws. Zoning laws shows you the inequality within the goods and the services of a demographic of people. That's the issue. So on and so forth. And other things too, food desert, we can go on and on.
You said food stamps?
Food deserts.
Oh. I thought you said food stamps.
No. I mean, hell, you put that in there too if you want. Because hell, it's almost like Hunger Games to a lot of now. If we gonna make it relative to black people, talking about housing, it's like Hunger Games, just trying to get
of course
housing vouchers and damn
yep.
goods and services. You know what I'm saying? So also take that into consideration. I mean, you got people on 4 and 5 year waiting lists for affordable housing. What type of shit is that?
Yep. It's like winning a lottery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yet in a lot of these cities, they get millions upon millions of dollars for that. Where's the money going?
So question for you, MD, do you believe in interjection in cases like these though? Because then sometimes most people don't want government interference. Do you think the government should interject and then start doing some kind of curtailment here, or what is your stance in terms of the government interjection in terms
well, in this aspect, I do believe in government interjection, but the government interjection has to lead to progressiveness. You know what I'm saying? It just can't be stagnation, and that's what it is right now.
Of course, that's what it is.
But who will
it's always been that.
But who's going to hold them accountable and monitor them while they do that? Because again, there's the possibility of them coming in and being corrupt. I mean, whether or not we want to admit it, they do have significant moments where they come in with good intention and see how the end result turns out to be. So I don't mind the government interjection here, but who is going to monitor and hold their feet to the fire and make them accountable in certain things? Would that be us, or is that a different body, a set of people that will do the same thing in terms of trying to, come up with a solution or some sort? That's my thing. Like, I don't mind the government interjection in certain things, but who is governing the government? That's always going to be a problem for me. Like, who is going to be watching them? Who's the watchdog here? Who's going to be holding them accountable when things go haywire, or when they do something and then say, oh, no. See, we came in and gave $15 million. So then what happened to the $50 million that you gave? Over time, is that just like one big check, or is that just 1 month or 2 months or 3 months of the year? Like, how does that work? That's always been my problem with the government. Who's watching them?
That's the problem, that I see every solution, every answer, everything is based or predicated on other people doing stuff, other ideas, except for the obvious thing, which is going to go back to the individuals and the money that they have. And okay, so we have an economy. You have, like, for instance, in 2000, $12 an hour is a very different thing than in 2023, $12 an hour. 2023, you can't do jack squat diddly with $12 an hour. But $12 an hour back in 2000, I damn near got a house. I got a house for that kind of money. Right. But today, I could never do that. So I don't need, politics has demonstrated time and time again, the politicians will not do what's needed to be done. They only do what they can get away with. That's all they do. And if you have an electric that is not on the pulse of what's going on, they won't keep these politicians in line and doing the job they need to do. So if polls are showing this doesn't matter, that doesn't matter. Right now, the way politics are, you could say, do almost anything, and you wouldn't suffer the ramifications that you would in the 1980s or the 90s. It's just a different climate, a different time. And they don't stay on the issue. So instead of talking about homelessness or veterans or whatever that needs to be dealt with, they're talking about culture war stuff and this and that. And they're not emboldened. I mean, they're not being held to focus on this issue. So we need, I feel, we need to have the economy tethered to the lifestyle. So inflation went up. So instead of having to go through Congress or the Senate or whoever, or begging Joe Biden or whoever is president tomorrow, it should be tethered with whatever. If the inflation goes up, the amount of what you make go up to adjust, so it automatically adjusts, taking that power away from politicians and skipping all this crap that goes on, because we have all these ideas, but the problems are there. And the root of these problems, came out of the 80s, Reaganomics, and all these things that have happened over that time. And it's not just Ronald Reagan, it's Democrats too, and so on and so forth. But at the end of the day, it's the politicians. We're like looking for them to do something. This needs to be a non-political thing. And it's just adjust. So when interest rates go up, when inflation go up, that amount that you're getting or whatever, it needs to be adjusted for whatever the true value is.
But then, Venkat, you have to remember, it's going to look like what? Socialism.
How's that socialism? I have to wait and beg and plead a politician to do that action. I don't want the politicians to do that. I want it to just be the voters and the citizens of the country should find a negotiated rate of where we need to be. That means minimum wage, maybe even maximum wage, whatever the hell you want to call it. But we should decide what the standard of living is that we want for people in the country, meaning healthcare, all these other things.
Yeah,
These
that's
are,
socialism.
I agree
huh?
with I
I
agree,
said, yeah, that's socialism.
but that's
No, yeah. So vacant, but it's different depending on where you live at in the country, though. How you gonna dictate that?
yeah, but it might be different, Van Cap. But how is it fair? That's where we're talking about the distribution. Why is it California? Like California is what the most popular in terms of the wealth distribution, but yet. Like, see, when I think they said, somebody I know of said they moved to California and they're paying like almost $2,000 for a 1-bedroom den. And I'm like, but why would you go to California to pay $2,000 when you could have paid less in South Florida? They're like, no, but because my job and so forth. But I'm like, that's crazy. So in terms of them, they're getting like probably $19 an hour for like minimum wage, whereas here in Florida, I think it's what, 11 something an hour for Florida, which we know it's a red state. They're never going to raise that because again, it's socialism and it's this and it's that. So that's the problem is the parity. Where is it in terms of distribution?
Hey, Van K, hey, you got to put that comment back up. That Maria G
Which one?
comment, not the one before this. Yeah, I can't rock with that. I can't rock with that at all. She said U.S. was founded on Christian principles.
Yeah.
Which gave us a high trust society. Nah, I can't do it. I can't do it. So you're a Christian nationalist then, what you are? I can't do it. I told you, I'm a prophet amongst men. Everything I talk about, it always just sprout up from different people. I don't know why. But carry on. My bad. My antennas raised. My bad.
But MD, I mean, she's kind of right. I mean, the Puritans, when they were doing their
the Puritans didn't found the country. The Puritans didn't found the United States. they just came over here. They didn't
over. That's what I'm saying. But that part of the answer, though, I mean, that's kind of what she's alluding to. Is that it still was persecution across Europe. Then they came over here to then try to run away from that. So they did, in a sense, start or develop Jamestown from there. That's how this country was predicated or brought about, in terms of its inception. So she's right.
You went too far back. You went too far back.
You went too far back. But I mean, she's partly telling the truth. It's based on Christian principle values. We are, after all, MD, the largest demographical Christian country on earth. I mean, this country.
That don't mean that it was founded on Christian principles.
True facts, but I mean, you could argue we are the largest demographical Christian country on earth. Just like you're still gonna look at it any way you look at it. But I agree with you. Just because we're the largest Christian demographical country in the world doesn't mean we're Christian based I mean, I've seen people claim they're Christian here and do some barbaric things, and I'm like, that has nothing to do with what the Bible says it's supposed to be doing. So I'm confused. But then again, this is the same country that voted for a man that claims he grabbed women and so forth, and people are gonna vote for him. I'm because it's like you telling me to pick a porn star to become a Christian minister in church. That's like crazy to me. But then people don't think like how I think. So hey, this is the United States. That's what I'm saying. So I mean, Mary G are not far off, but I will have to agree with MD too. But I mean, MD kind of is part right. There was persecution in Europe when the Puritans came over. So didn't they find the country? Weren't the Puritans part Christian? I mean, you got to throw a bone.
They didn't found the country. I can't let you go with that, Ricardo. I can't do it. I'm sorry. I just can't do it.
All right. So let's this topic could go on forever because it's a very important topic, homelessness, And again, anybody can be a victim of homelessness. In America, not many in America have the ability to cover a $400 emergency in their checking account or in their savings account. So the struggle is definitely real, and it's not something to be taken lightly, because a lot of those people that are out there homeless, they didn't think they were going to be that way. Not all of them are just drug addicts and people that just didn't care about their lives. A lot of them, there was a story I was looking at the other day. There's a lady, she makes $77,000 a year in Washington, D.C., but she's homeless. She lives in her car. It's a real big issue, and I just wanted to give it some light tonight. But I do want to get into news update concerning Israel. So we'll be right back for that.
Turning to the conflict in the Middle East now, Israeli forces have this morning admitted to an airstrike on a convoy of ambulances outside a hospital in Gaza as the leader of militant group Hezbollah speaks publicly for the first time. For more, 9 Europe correspondent Kari-Anne Greenbank is in Tel Aviv for us this morning. Kari, major developments today.
Well, Sophie, there are horrifying scenes emerging at the Al-Shifa hospital in Gaza. That is the largest hospital in Gaza. And there are reports of dozens of people dead after a strike on a convoy of ambulances at the entrance to that hospital. Now, the IDF has just confirmed it has targeted that spot, saying it was targeting an ambulance that had been identified as being used by Hamas fighters. It's these kinds of scenes that US Secretary of State Antony Blinken will have been speaking about with Benjamin Netanyahu today. He flew into Tel Aviv today for the 4th time since the war began to speak with the Israeli Prime Minister and the war cabinet, among other things calling for a humanitarian pause to get more aid into Gaza and more hostages out. Here he is now.
We remain relentlessly focused on securing the release of hostages. We believe that each of these efforts would be facilitated by humanitarian pauses, by arrangements on the ground that increase security for civilians and permit the more effective and sustained delivery of humanitarian assistance.
Now, that much talked about speech by Hassan Nasrallah, the Hezbollah leader, it had been feared that he may declare war on Israel. He didn't, although he did say in his words, all options are open. Benjamin Netanyahu then responding by saying, don't test us, you'll pay dearly. The Israeli Prime Minister going on to reiterate that there will be no ceasefire in Gaza until all hostages have been released.
In the Maghazi refugee camp, Hamas says another Israeli strike killed at least 38 people and injured 100 more. This photojournalist carried his dead child, one of 4 he lost, along with 4 brothers and their children.
Photojournalist loses 4 of his own children in the Gaza Strip. Unfortunately, that is not a rarity in the Gaza Strip these days. Entire families continue to be wiped out by IDF airstrikes in response to what happened in Israel on October 7th when Hamas carried out a terrorist attack. Now, Israel, of course, says that they're going after Hamas, but their military activity there, the aerial bombardments, which are relentless, show a pretty clear disregard for human life.
This was the Maghazi refugee camp this morning. The panorama of destruction from the air soon becomes the particular of tragedy on the ground. And that unbearable murmur of misery returns. At least 40 dead, according to the Gaza Health Ministry. Israel doesn't deny the number, but says that the presence of Hamas units makes it a legitimate target. What human price victory? It is the question that haunts this war, perhaps any war. And here too, both sides have answers that are unacceptable to the other.
An Israeli fighter jet struck this ambulance convoy, claiming Hamas fighters were inside. Men and women laid in their own pools of blood outside the Strip's biggest hospital, Al-Shifa. Israel also hit Gaza's Jabalia refugee camp, the third time in 5 days, targeting more militants and infrastructure. In the aftermath, this anguished boy said he carried out dead bodies, including one decapitated.
Now, before I go to you, Cenk, I think it's really important for people to understand that the images you're seeing are very much real. And despite what you might be hearing from Netanyahu, despite what you might be hearing from officials here in the United States, Biden administration officials justifying what's happening and pretending as though there isn't this attempt to target Palestinian civilians or conflate Palestinian civilians with Hamas militants, let me give you some actual statements from politicians within Israel. Some Israeli hardliners advocate keeping control of Gaza and permanently expelling its Palestinian residents. That's called ethnic cleansing, for those who might not know. A Likud lawmaker, Ariel Kalner, has called for another Nakba that would overshadow the original mass displacement in 1948. Right now, one goal, Nakba, Kalner said on October 8th. Nakba in Gaza and Nakba to anyone who dares to join, he added. Also, a far-right government minister, Amishai Aliyahu, said on Wednesday that Gazan land should be given to former Israeli soldiers who fought in Gaza or to former Israeli settlers who lived in the enclave before Israel withdrew from it in 2005. Then on Sunday, he said that Israel should consider dropping a nuclear bomb on Gaza, an idea that drew condemnation from Netanyahu and other members of the government. Netanyahu has decided to suspend him over that because he appeared to say the quiet parts too loudly. And finally, in a statement, the UN chiefs said in a joint statement that an entire population is besieged and under attack, denied access to the essentials for survival, bombed in their homes, shelters, hospitals, and places of worship. This is unacceptable. We need an immediate humanitarian ceasefire. It's been 30 days. Enough is enough. This must stop. Because it's not about saving human lives, innocent human lives. It's about getting your pound of flesh, and it's about brutalizing these people while simultaneously conflating them with Hamas. That is what's happening.
Yeah.
Hey, Van
Cat,
Cat,
real quick. Hey,
Yeah, go.
man, I would advise you to stop putting them comments up where I can see them, because you know I got to say something about them. She said the 13 colonies again. 13 colonies is not the United States of America. They weren't talking about the 13 colonies under the Continental Congress, man. I'm sorry, they just wasn't. But carry on, my bad.
All right, MD. All right, so there we go. So it's been confirmed that Israel bombed some ambulances next to a hospital. Now, last week they were denying bombing the hospital itself. This week they're taking responsibility for bombing ambulances next to hospitals. So we're now at the point where we're over 10,000 dead, including 4,000 plus kids. Ricardo, what is your viewpoint on what's going on currently with Israel and Hamas?
So again, like I've been echoing for the past weeks since this whole thing started, I am not against somebody retaliating. If you hit me or you do some kind of physical harm or violence towards me, I feel it's in my direct right to retaliate. That's just human nature in me. What I do have a problem with, and this is the same thing I'm going to echo and say, because regardless whether or not anybody want to censor me, I don't give a damn. When it comes to innocent children being killed, and you're just doing it because of Nakba, which you think is like some kind of religious fair justification of you trying to get claims to a land. Palestine has always been on this map. Historically, it's never been, the entire region has always been called Palestine. Whether or not people want to acknowledge it, whether people want to take accountability for it, Palestine has always been on an historical map. It's not something that was just just randomly just populated or came out about from thin air. It's always been there. And I implore people to, in order for you to understand this conflict, you have to go back and historically read about it or learn or get knowledge about what is going on. This is something that's been bothering me for the past week. It's as if, and you heard in terms of the news clip that they're talking about, oh, if they could drop a nuclear bomb, have you lost your ever-loving mind? Do you want to start World War III? Because that's literally what they're trying to do here, that this is not the time or place for it. I do not need another war. This country has been too drawn into multiple conflicts, and at this particular point, we just literally left Afghanistan. Was it Afghanistan we just left?
Yeah.
How much more of this can the United States tolerate at this point? Yes, the United States decided to become the world police after Britain gave that up, World War II. It's getting to the point where the instability is going to become an issue, and everybody's going to be drawn in from multiple sides. I've heard literally China, I've heard literally other countries come out and condemned what is happening. And it seems to me this administration is stuck between a rock and a hard place. And looking at it from the angle that I'm looking at it from, I cannot in good justification vote for this administration again. I just cannot. Because if you're seeing innocent people being killed, especially children, and again, I've said this in multiple weeks, because nobody could say, oh, but what about the Israeli side? I've seen more bodies of children with limbs, with arms, mouth, head decapitated. The whole, when I tell you I've seen gore to the point where, and as a parent, because I'm a parent, so I could speak, I do not accept that. That is not something I can accept. If this country is going to walk the toll line of being, oh, I'm going to send $15 billion to Israel, but then, oh, I'm going to send $100 million to Palestine to make it look like you're trying to be, no. You have to pick a side where you put Israel in their place and say, listen, if you want our hardworking taxpaying money that we have to print to send out to you, you're going to have to stop this genocide that you're doing. And there's no justification for what you're doing. Yes, they retaliated. Yes, they came after you guys a month ago. And we get it. Like I said, if you hit me, I'm going to hit you back. If you do this to me, I'm going to do it. It's human nature. But with that being said, that was a month ago. We're now going into another month, and now we're now trying to find ways to justify the killings. And then now we're saying one thing where we're like, oh, we were beheading babies, and then we're saying, oh no, we didn't shoot the hospital, to now, oh, well, we might have hit an ambulance that was close to the hospital. Get a grip, people. It's becoming like a never-ending Twilight Zone. Like, this is not acceptable. And I need Biden now, because it now seems to me the leader of this free country doesn't even speak that much anymore. So I don't know if they're putting a muffle on him or what it is, but I need him to now speak to Netanyahu and let him know, listen, pull the brakes now, because if I'm going to give you money from these taxpayers that now they're going to be voting for me in the next election, I need you to now put a stop to this. And I need you to come with restrictions on what is going to be going forward, because this ain't looking good. And if you're going to pull multiple other, because remember, I don't think much of the Arab world is going to sit back and tolerate this that much longer, because if they get drawn in where you have Egypt on one side, don't be surprised if they shut down the Suez Canal to certain people, and the United States cannot afford its fleets that go in between the canals to not I wouldn't say trespass, but allowed to go in between the canals, because the canal shuts itself off 6 hours in intervals. So for every 6 hours, the vessels are allowed to go up, and then in the 6 hours it cuts off at night, then they're allowed to go back down. So in terms of trade, that's $12 billion per day. If Egypt, and by the way, the Suez Canal is entirely in Egypt. So if you understand the context of why this is so conflicting, there's so much variables that go into this. If Egypt gets drawn into this is a whole nother war that was just as terrible when they had one that was in, I think there was a Sinai war that also was
Nasser.
Right.
What happened when Nasser tried to nationalize the Suez Canal? What happened?
Britain decided to interject. So it was like do you remember? Wasn't that like a month of conflict, or how long was that? That it was enough to like.
It was what they called a 6-day war when
It was a
it was
short.
it was 1967. Well, it was a span on 1967, and you had 1973. Nasser was part of that in 1967 when he tried to nationalize the Suez Canal, and then they entered the war with I believe it was Syria and Lebanon with Israel. They got totally destroyed, and they got punked out, and then that's when you had the Oslo Accords and all that happened. They got punked out is what happened. So I mean Sisi in Egypt, he in lockstep with the United States and Israel.
He
He ain't
is.
got no problem right there.
True, but then you have Yemen and the rest of them that are like winning the footsteps to try to come in. Like again, the Arab world is not going to sit silently and watch. Jordan on the other side is like not going to be putting up with this that much longer. I'm surprised they haven't come out and said something this week. So you have all of that. There's so much variables that's going on that again, it's becoming like this was well planned and staged out. But I just don't know who. But I have an idea, but I don't want to say it out loud, kind of thing. I want my president to now say, listen, at this point, this has just gone on too far enough. Like, we need to put a stop to this. I've yet to hear him say something, and that's a little bit concerning to me. With that being stated, right now, I need our money to stay in our pockets. I don't want $15 billion to be going to Israel. Why are we sending billions of dollars to Israel? For what? Why are we sending it to there when we know what you're doing is not correct or is not right in the eyes
Because if they don't do it, the Republicans and Democrats are going to have to pay a price from the Jewish community.
Because and I need our citizens to now tell them, hey, listen, you're sending $15 billion to Israel, then you send how much $1 billion in terms of package to Ukraine. And like, when are you going to keep that money that you're sending outside of our borders? Could be better used to curtail the homeless issue that we're having here, as well as other variable things that we could fix. Why are we sending
like the homelessness?
It's not outside of our borders.
It's not outside
Israel.
of
Israel is a vassal state of the United States.
We know that, but at the same
Israel is just as American pie as the center of America.
Oh boy, oh boy.
I'm just being honest.
Oh boy.
But
I'm just being. That don't make it right. I'm just being honest.
I'm just saying, we talked about homelessness. How much could that affect homelessness with all that money, man?
No.
Hey, when you God's chosen people, hell ain't no price.
Oh man.
No, but I will say, hey, I'm gonna be honest with y'all. I say a lot of stuff about Biden and blah blah blah, this and that. This right here, the casket has officially been shut on Biden's political career with this conflict, and I'm gonna tell you why. Biden, and I talked about this earlier on my show. Go check it out, MD's Thought Box. Biden, by no stretch of the imagination, is a progressive liberal. He just ain't. Me and you both know.
He's not. He's not at all.
He's a moderate at best.
At best.
He said moderate.
But the visual or the trick bag was anybody but Trump. Now hear me out. I ain't advocating for Trump, so don't try me with that. When we talk about a lot of the policies that Biden has put into play, a lot of them, when it comes to the progressive populace, they looked at him side-eyed. When this happened October 7th, and the destruction that has followed in the hands of Israel, we're talking about over 10,000 people dead. Not Hamas soldiers, civilian people dead. The vast majority of them women and children. There's been more civilian casualties in the Hamas conflict that's only been 4 weeks than the whole entirety of the Ukraine-Russia conflict as far as civilian deaths. What's her name? Rashida Tlaib. They're now trying, I seen a report today. They now trying to censure her based off of the rhetoric that she's been presenting that's been pro-Palestine, saying that it's anti-Semitic. You ain't heard a peep from Joe Biden. He's lost the progressive vote is gone. It's gone. You can chalk it up as a loss. I just saw this weekend they held that pro-Palestine rally. I mean, it was droves and droves of people out there, and they were calling for Biden's head in that rally. I don't know if y'all seen it or not.
I'm not surprised.
These are the extreme left-wing liberals calling for the head of Joe Biden. I'm telling you right now, y'all might as well get ready, put your seatbelt on and your MAGA hat, because come 2020, it's on and pop.
No, we'd rather vote for Robert Kennedy at this point.
And I'm glad you said that, because again, I told y'all I'm a prophet amongst men. I literally just said in my show earlier that I'm projecting that this will be the lowest voter turnout in terms of Republican Party, Democratic Party, probably in our lifetime. So we're gonna go from the highest voter turnout to the lowest voter turnout, based off the political debauchery of both Donald Trump and Joe Biden.
100.
Because Joe Biden I'm talking about he can't get right. It's like every other week it's something with him, and he's losing liberal support. He's losing.
Can't get right, like that guy from the Life movie.
Yeah,
Life.
Yeah, he can't get right. And Anthony Blinken is a BITCA. He done went over there 3 times. The last time he went over there, he tried to tell Netanyahu, the United States is calling for a humanitarian pause, whatever that means. And Netanyahu told him to kiss his ass. He wasn't stopping nothing.
Yeah,
but it's the spoiled child. That's why I said it's the spoiled child of America. We have emboldened Israel for so long with so much money, where they think they can do. It's like raising the sociopath. You raise a sociopath as a child. He out there killing ants with magnifying glasses and slitting cats' throats and doing all type of stuff.
Yep.
And you tell him to stop, and he tell you to kiss his ass.
And he throws a tantrum.
Or you might be next.
Yep.
So
that's
MD,
what Israel is.
Go ahead. MD, what if Joe Biden next week say, you know what, we need this to stop, or at least pause for a moment. We gotta get back to trying to negotiate for a better future. If he sent troops, United States troops out there to kind of push back on Israel, do you think that would be a positive thing for him to do, or would that be like a crazy boneheaded move? Like it would be an overstep.
If Biden sent you talking about sending troops into Gaza to try to deter Israel?
Yeah.
If we were to do that, we would have a civil war in this country, because the Christian nationalists will go crazy. You thought J6 was bad. Let us do some crazy stuff like that with the ideology that has been being molded into shape for almost 100 years now. Zionism is real.
It's very real. Very, very real.
And a lot of people that support the extreme right support what Israel is doing right now.
That's crazy, man.
Based off religious zealotry.
But my thing is, can't people realize how to separate? And this is why our Constitution tells us best: you separate state from religion, because this is the main reason why. When people can't knowingly know how to separate, like you're seeing people, does it not make? And this is how I know this country it's gotten effed up. When Sandy Hook, when he started killing all those kids and it didn't really move the needle in terms of nothing, I knew this country was not going to change for nobody. When it comes to this conflict, my thing is I've heard people say stuff, and to me, it comes across very what's the word I'm looking for here, because we're heading to dangerous territory. If somebody speaks out like myself and say, hey, listen, what Palestine is doing, what they're doing to Palestine, or what they're doing in the Gaza Strip and to the West Bank is wrong. It's automatic. Oh, you're anti-Zionist. You're anti this. You're anti-Israel. How is that anti when I'm speaking up against what you're doing? That's not anti. That's me stating to you that when wrong is wrong, it's wrong. What they're doing is genocide, and people. There's only so much, and it's my fear. There's only so much of the people saying and speaking out before they start going, oh well, no, MD is completely no. He's against Israel. It's not about being against. It's about what's right is right and what's wrong is wrong. You're killing innocent people. When you hit that territory of killing women and children, and it doesn't really make a mark because you're thinking it's more of a risk aspect, that's a problem to me. That means you become delusional in terms of what the manipulation is. You're killing innocent people. Why? Because you're still trying to make a point. You already made the point. You retaliate. They went in and did their whatever the month before, which is fine. Again, I say if you do something to them, they're going to retaliate, which is what Israel did. But what you're doing now is you're overdoing the retaliation. Now you're just killing people for the sake of, oh, I'm just going to kill because I'm trying to drive out Hamas. Who are you? What point are you trying to make now? Because you're literally, it says the facts are there, the stats are there. It's saying that you literally now killed more people than the people that are in Ukraine. So when is this country going to say, all right, this has crossed that threshold of it's now extremely bad. Stop with the bombings. The bombings, the same bombings that everybody else is seeing, it's now in real time. We can see everything. It's not like the 90s where you will see an image the 24 hours after. We're still seeing this in real time. And people have smartphones. We could literally see and we can identify when something is not real and when it's real. So my thing is now is when is somebody on either the Biden administration side is going to say, listen, Mr. President, you now have to step in, because at some point in time, you're going to hear Jordan say something. You're going to hear Syria say something. You're going to hear Yemen say something. You're going to hear Egypt say something. When are you going to come in and say, listen, I now proclaim a ceasefire on both sides? That's your job. Your job as the largest free, the most powerful leader in the free world is to now interject and force them, not them, but force Israel to say, listen, ceasefire. Enough is enough. He's not doing that. That's a problem to me. Now he's gone completely silent. Where is he at? Is he in a bunker somewhere? Like, I need him to.
So real quick before you go, Van Cat, you basically just said Anthony Blinken ain't worth a damn, because he's supposed to be the diplomatic. He's supposed to be the diplomatic entity of the United States.
He ain't doing nothing.
So that's basically what you just said.
Pretty much.
But go ahead, Van Cat.
I was just gonna say, we know what Biden's doing right now. What if Trump was president, or let's say Trump becomes president? How do we feel like? How would Trump address this? Do we think he would have a different strategy, a better strategy, a worse strategy? What do we think?
He ain't got no strategy.
Once Trump is elected, because by how it looks right now, that's what's going to happen. We will go to World War III, because the Republicans want to go into Iran, like right now. So once Trump is elected, that's what's going to happen.
You can't go into Iran.
Well, yeah, I'm sure Lindsey Graham wants to do that.
But
hell, Lindsey Graham said drop a nuke on Gaza too. That's what he said too.
Oh my goodness!
You know damn well in your mind they can't go into Iran. Are you crazy? Like that completely. I just don't see that happening. Yeah, they could try, but nah, there's no way.
I'm just telling you what the Republicans saying.
And even I'll even push back and say, because of this, I feel like it's good. It's because of the low turnout of voters that I foresee that's going to come into the next election. I think it goes more towards the uptick for Biden, because everybody's going to go, all right, well, we'll just pick up the lesser of the two evils, since Trump is going to be selected anyways, even though we're doing debates. We're just going to probably pick, and then from that slim margin is how Biden's going to end up winning again. So again, it doesn't, like, to me, it doesn't sway the needle. It's not going to go towards Trump. I just don't see that. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't see that.
So you're saying Trump's not going to win 2024?
it. Nope, I just don't. Because then because I keep saying this, we are so fickle as a country. It just takes I could ask somebody, what do you remember from January all the way until now? They're gonna probably tell you
Right.
that happened like last week.
Very true, Ricardo.
Hey,
Very
Van
true.
I'm making a request. Maria G, if you got the time, I don't know what you're doing right now. hit this link. She said Trump will stop aid to Israel. Are you, man? Please, good God Almighty.
All right, so we'll be looking at the latest developments as the weeks and months go by on Israel and Hamas. Right now, we'll deal with a little lighter subject, but it's still not that light, but lighter than what we've talked about: homelessness and people dying in Israel and in the Gaza Strip. But we're gonna look at Donald Trump and Chris Christie. They have something going on, and it's just interesting to watch. So this will be what's going on in political news.
Governor, because there has been a lot of news that's off the campaign trail, people might not have seen what you experienced in Florida on Saturday at a Republican summit. You got a pretty rough reception from a very pro-Trump crowd. Let's take a look.
Well, now it feels like home. Thank you all very much. Your anger against the truth is reprehensible. The problem is you want to shout down any voice that says anything different than what you want to hear.
I don't think I've ever seen a politician appear to have so much fun at a crowd that was so hostile. Talk about what that means in all candor about the reality of this race that you were running and the people you were trying to appeal to, who so far are very difficult for you to reach.
Well, I wasn't trying to appeal to the people who were yelling and screaming, Dana. They're
Well, I
already
just mean the
committed to
broader
Donald Trump,
electorate,
and that's
of
the
course.
fallacy of this race. Well, but look, if you listen to the rest of the speech, there were a number of times where I got some really good applause in that speech, because there are people in that room who are not for Donald Trump. But the ones who are for Donald Trump, were yelling and screaming. Okay. The reason why I was having fun with it is because I knew that's exactly what was going to happen if I went to this Republican Party of Florida summit. And what I wanted to show the rest of the voters in this country is there is one candidate who's willing to stand up to Donald Trump. There is one candidate who's willing to stand up to the bullying and the yelling and the screaming and the lying. And I'm the candidate. Every one of the other ones who you'll see on the stage on Wednesday night all raised their hand and said they would support a convicted felon to be the Republican nominee for president. I'm the only one on the stage who kept my hand down. This is a determining issue in this race. Donald Trump is the issue in this race. More than any other topic, he's it. And they've said, Ron DeSantis, Nikki Haley, Tim Scott, Vivek Ramaswamy, they've said, we're with him. Ramaswamy says he's the greatest president of the 21st century. Nikki Haley has said after January 6th that we should all give him a break. I mean, look, this is the determining issue. And if you want that to be what you are absolutely aiming for, and that is what I'm aiming for, is to be the Republican nominee, you have to take on those hecklers head on and direct. And by the way, if Republicans think that Democrats are going to be any easier in the fall, they're kidding themselves. They're not going to give up power without a fight. And the fact is that I'm the one who's willing to take on the fight. Donald Trump stays away from the stage because he's a coward and he doesn't want to make the fight. And the rest of them are too afraid of Donald Trump to say his name out loud.
But you know, the last debate had the lowest ratings in the history of presidential debates. Did you know that? And this one should do slightly worse. But they have a debate coming up. People don't want debates. I mean, I heard they booed Christie off the stage today. Is that true? I really say, what's he doing? Look, you know, we're all in a party. We want to win this race. What's he doing? The he's at 1.5. Okay? And how about Ada Hutchinson? You have Ada, not Asa. Ada! No, you had and I heard he got booed off. Who got more boos? Who got louder boos? Christie or Ada Hutchinson? Christie. No, I heard they virtually booed him off the stage. Because you know what? What's it all about? He's just doing it because I didn't give him a job in the administration. What's he doing? And why would I do a debate when Christie, sir, I'm sorry, he is not a fat pig, okay? This man, he said, he is not a fat pig. No, it's true. And you can't use the term fat. You're allowed to use the word pig, but not fat. No, the man just said, he's a fat pig. And I said, no, he's not a fat pig. So now the press can't kill me because all I'm doing is responding. I'm responding. He is not a fat pig.
By the way, if you pay attention to the outro every week on Tape Fist Politics, he pretty much does that same tactic where he's like pointing to an audience member saying, no, you can't say that about this person. So it's just a classic bag of tricks that Donald Trump uses. So, MD, what do we think about Donald Trump, Chris Christie, the exchange that they have going on here?
All right, I'm gonna say this. Everybody knows that when it comes to the debates, some of the policy that Nikki Haley has outlined, that I was kind of supporting her. These last couple of weeks, she has said some things that got me looking at her side eye. I can officially say now that when it comes to other candidates that I'm looking at, I can clearly say, in my opinion, you know, to garner any type of outlook on my end, I'm rocking with Chris Christie right now. The reason being is, like you said, he's the only one that's willing to challenge not only some of the fascist tactics that Trump do, but also his presidential record. And that's the issue with not having him on that debate stage. It ain't about trying to downplay anybody personally. It's about challenging the presidential record of a person. That's the reason of debate. The reason Trump don't want to debate, because he has a certain persona that he's trying to solidify through the fanatic MAGA populace, and it's working right now. I listened to that whole speech that Chris Christie did, and he's correct. It was people that was genuinely trying to listen to what Chris Christie was talking about. They wasn't with the BS. But the fanatical MAGA populace tried to heckle him and do all sorts of things because that's what MAGA do. I'm be honest, y'all. I'm to the point where I don't even know if I'm gonna vote for Trump in 2024 no more, because it's getting out of hand. And that's why I was looking at Nikki Haley, but Nikki Haley, she done said some things that I ain't rocking with, and I'm pretty sure it's some things that I don't rock with Chris Christie. But the fact of the matter is, I know that I can get my one specific direct policy that I want for myself personally out of any of these Republican candidates, which is stopping open borders and illegal immigration. I don't need Trump for that. I can get that from somebody else. So the authoritarian rule that Trump is trying to go up under, I just can't rock with. Not
I
as
think
not as an individualist. I can't do it.
I hear you. Yeah. I mean that's like late breaking news right here. I never thought I would hear you ever say that. So
Man,
that has to mean something.
Clip it. Clip it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I like Chris Christie, his no nonsense style. Yeah, he has issues, but what politician doesn't? So that's not the issue. I think he just has more of a no nonsense, more direct style. He does things, not necessarily for his ego like Trump does. You could get, like you said, you could get a lot of the policies you probably want. You could get out of a Chris Christie, and I do think if Chris Christie was on the ticket on the Republican side, he probably would beat Joe Biden. Chris Christie does before the Bridgegate, he had he had a hell of a record in New Jersey.
You sure?
So yeah, so I think he would beat Joe Biden. I think it's kind of foolish. I let you know the MAGA thing isn't really about what they need to do in policies. It's about just following this guy, man. So
It's a cult. It's a cult. That's what it is.
yeah, yeah. What do you think, Ricardo?
I mean, when it comes to Chris Christie, I mean, I've seen him in action. Like, he's been on the circuits for the Sunday morning shows. So, in terms of debate wise, he can hold his own quite well. So, it didn't surprise me that much when it comes to him and how he rebuttals in terms of the Trump issue and MAGA. I'm very surprised at you, MD, this week because I've been trying to broaden your prospects in terms of how I see Nikki Haley and how I saw Trump. It's the same thing. Nikki Haley doesn't strike me as I'm not the least bit surprised because she did see a couple of things leading up to for the winding down of the Trump administration that I was like, I thought I could give her like the benefit of the doubt, but she said a couple of things that I'm like, wait a minute, that is so far off from what my perception of her was. And from ever since then, I was like, nah, I don't think I could give her that much, acknowledgement anymore because it was just like, she said a couple of things that I'm like, nah, I just can't. So for you to see,
She switched up. She switched
yeah,
up on me.
She's been doing that from a while back, and I'm surprised people like yourself haven't been picking up on it, but I've been peeping it from a long time. And
Ricardo?
Yeah,
Ricardo?
I think he got he blacked out. I think he maybe got a call or something.
Oh. And anything else you want to add to the Trump Chris Christie rivalry here?
I mean, I won't necessarily call it a rivalry because I mean, hell, Chris Christie is speaking truth. Like it's inexcusable to not be on that debate stage. That's just what it is. And for you to think that based on the fact that you're doing so good in these polls and take the polls for what they are, that you like I said, it's authoritarianism at the end of the day. You're not willing to put yourself out there in a democratic situation based on a perception that these cult followers are giving you, and that's bad. That's real bad. That's probably one of the main reasons why I'm waning myself off of this Trump train, so to speak, because more and more every day I'm hearing the same speech over and over again in all these rallies. You're not giving me any details to the policy that you want to present. Showing yourself as an authoritarian figure. I'm an American, so therefore I must be anti-authoritarianism. Yet you're presenting yourself as an authoritarian figure. I can't rock with it. And to the people that try to put themselves in a position to defend Trump, this particular aspect you just cannot defend. Not if you're a true American. You can't do it.
Right, very, very true. Ricardo, are you available? Oh, he's probably not back yet. Okay. So, we'll see if we can get Ricardo back on. But so we'll go to the next segment, which is my favorite and your favorite, and it's gonna be Lame Duck Session.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
You're trying your best, but it never feels like enough.
I started having second thoughts almost the moment I sat down on the plane.
Lights off! Off! Turn them off. They're too bright. Turn them off. Turn them off. Let's go. Ready? Turn
We go back a long way. She was 12, I was 30, but anyway.
So I changed my return flight and flew back on the first available flight I could take.
I'm sick and tired of smart guys. I'm sick and tired of ordinary people being fleeced. I'm tired of being quiet. I'm sick and tired. I'm just sick and tired. We have this notion that somehow if you're poor, you cannot do it. Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids.
With great power comes great responsibility.
The Marine Corps Commandant was doing two jobs. Why aren't you?
Marine Corps Commandant's probably got 2,000 people to work for him, okay? So, and somebody said he's working 18 hours a day. Jack Reed blamed me for his heart attack. Come on, give me a break. This guy's going to work 18, 20 hours a day no matter what. That's what we do. You know, I did that for years because you got to get the job done, and you try to do everything yourself. So we're not going to go down that road.
Let's not move past, I did that for years. Ostensibly, no disrespect to the sport, as a football coach. That was Alabama Republican Senator Tommy Tuberville, a man who has never served in the military, much less at the highest levels, claiming that the stresses of doing two jobs in the military for 20 hours a day are no different than the job he, quote, did for years, which was the job of a football coach. It's a shocking thing to think, let alone say out loud, particularly since Tuberville's hold on military promotions over the Pentagon's abortion healthcare policies are what caused people like Marine Corps Commandant Eric Smith to have to juggle multiple military leadership positions, which he was doing without complaining until he was hospitalized this week after suffering a heart attack. And now Tuberville's Senate colleagues, the Republican ones, are fed up with him and the grandstanding, and they're trying to find ways to work around him. Yesterday, the Senate confirmed 3 nominees who Tuberville had been holding up. But as the Associated Press reports, quote, Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin said Thursday he was pleased that the Senate confirmed the 3 officers, but, quote, we still have more than 370 superbly qualified leaders who have seen their nominations unnecessarily stalled, he said. As we face a variety of urgent challenges, the most powerful fighting force in history must be at full strength. Joining me at the table, the founder of Iraq and Afghanistan Veterans of America and host of the Independent Americans podcast, Paul Rykoff, is back. Wow.
Yeah. Happy Friday.
Yeah.
I mean, we could do a segment every week called This Week in Stupid, starring Senator Tommy Tuberville. I mean, every day he finds a new way to double down on stupid. I mean, he's ridiculous, he's radical, he's extreme. I think he's the most dangerous member of the Senate because of the extreme way he's pushing his culture war on the military, and he's just mucking up the works. I've been a football coach. I'm still a football coach. We have a playoff game next week, and I've been a soldier. The two aren't even close. And to compare the two just is double down on the insulting nature of what he's doing. I've got 8-year-olds who know more about leadership and setting an example than Tommy Tuberville. And I think what's happening now is actually maybe a sign of some positivity, because we've been talking about who's going to do something about this. Tommy Tuberville might be the one thing uniting Democrats and Republicans right now. Finally, the dam is broken. Dan Sullivan, Joni Ernst, Lindsey Graham is now even looking good compared to Tommy Tuberville. That's happening because they're uniting around one thing. And maybe that's a silver lining in this, that we can finally see some common ground for Republicans and Democrats to work together against extremists.
So last night, Senator Tommy Tuberville of Alabama faced backlash from members of his own party who angrily challenged his months-long blockade. They attempted to unanimously approve 61 military promotions by voice vote for more than 4 hours. Tuberville rejected each nomination as his colleagues' frustrations grew.
We have done the best that we can to honor the request of a fellow senator that these nominations be brought to the floor and voted on individually. And I really respect men of their word. I do not respect men who do not honor their word.
No matter where you believe it or not, Senator Tuberville, this is doing great damage to our military. I don't say that lightly. If this is the norm, who the hell wants to serve in the military when your promotion can be canned based on something you had nothing to do with?
It's simply in my opinion, an abuse of the powers we have as senators to say if there's something we vehemently disagree with, that we're going to use that power to hold up the promotion of over 350 men and women in our military.
These are the people who were kicking in doors in Fallujah, shooting terrorists in the face. And we have people saying they're desk jockeys and they're not warriors. That's just ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And it's insulting. The Chinese admirals and their military, they're probably watching this debate right now going, I can't believe my luck. I can't believe our luck. Maybe we should attack Taiwan tomorrow. We're going to look back at this episode and just be stunned at what a national security suicide mission this became.
So Senator Sullivan served in the United States Marine Corps for many years. Joni Ernst, Senator Ernst, served as well. You see the frustration there that, again, we've been hearing privately. Sometimes we'll hear Mitch McConnell say sort of politely, I disagree with what Senator Tuberville is doing, but it's the way the system's set up. Somehow, for some reason yesterday, the dam broke, and they all came out against Tuberville.
I think a lot of it, Jonathan Weir, probably has to do with the fact that you had an episode with a Marine Corps Commandant. And by the way, I guarantee you every one of those senators, first of all, were angry behind the scenes all along.
Oh, yeah.
But I guarantee you every one of those senators got calls from the Pentagon going, what in the holy hell are you guys doing? We've got guys being sent to the hospital now because they're like, one job is enough to just absolutely rip somebody apart. You're making them do 2, 3, 4 jobs because of this clown from Alabama that even people in Alabama don't support. You know the pressure coming from the Pentagon with one of their own being sent to the hospital on a health issue. I mean, you know it's getting intense now.
You're on mute. We can't hear you, Venkat.
Oh, my God, I did it again. Sorry, man. Sorry. I was talking the whole time. My goodness. So there he is, Tommy Tuberville, the lame duck, number 11. This guy in the Senate is okay with overworking people in the military, making them work multiple jobs. One guy pretty much had to be hospitalized for overexhaustion, doing 20-hour work shifts. And he just made light of the work, comparing it to his days being a football coach, which is highly insulting. And on top of that, he's holding up confirmations for positions in the military. So I'll start with Ricardo. Ricardo, what do you think about our lame duck number 11?
I mean, he knows damn well that you don't play when it comes to anything about this country and its military. You don't play around with that. You don't make comparisons. You don't, unless you've literally been in the military or you've actively participated, you don't go after, you don't make fun of, you don't play, you don't say anything out of turn when it comes to the military. And he knows damn well, he knows better. So calling me again this week surprised by these morons that are in office there as a senator. You should have been schooled, but nothing surprises me anymore. And therefore, he played stupid games and now you're winning stupid prizes. If he's going to continue doing what the Marjorie Taylor Greens are doing and the rest of them, you might as well just go all along with that mantra of nonsense that they do. But do realize that you can be kicked out. She has a following, you don't. So play stupid games, win stupid prize. When it comes to the military, you will find out quick they don't play. So I'm assuming the backlash that he's receiving, the rest of his colleagues are going to tell him to buckle up and fly straight at this point, because the retaliation from that group, that sector, is not a fun one. So lame duck it is.
What do you think, MD?
Yeah, this just goes to show you the dysfunction in the Republican Party. Again, we talked about the House speakership last week. This week we're talking about this. There's an agenda that's being pushed out by the extreme right wing. This man, who don't even understand military strategy, wants to basically handpick certain promotions of certain military officers. And that's sad. You telling me you got the time to want to have votes for each individual promotion and then confirm it. That lets you know that these people want extreme right-wing agendas in all facets of society in America. If you're not speaking their language politically, they don't want you to be able to do anything. This man did this based on the fact that he wants to groom in all wings of government, in all wings of society, in all wings of military, a MAGA army. That's what this come down to. The same thing go for the speakership last week. I mean, it's all tied together at the end of the day. And as a result of you doing this, basically, military leadership is hurting. That lets you know just the dumbassedness of a certain aspect of the Republican Party. That's just what it is. You don't know nothing about nothing when it comes to the military. All you know about is putting players together in football. Which I might add, it is hard, but it ain't military hard. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, again, how you compare the two to try to justify what you're doing is laughable at the end of the day. And so goes the Republican Party. It's in shambles. Conservatism is dead, y'all. It's dead.
It's unreal times, man. Unreal. Oh man. So I mean, he got some ears on him too, by the way. My God. Some big ass ears. But yeah, this is ridiculous. I don't really see how this is a winning strategy. You got your own Republican colleagues just raining down on you. You never really see this.
Nope.
Republicans never do this pretty much. So
yeah, you know
that
it's bad.
says a lot.
Graham on your tail. It's bad.
Oh man.
But he broke the covenant rule. You know, you never go after the military. Like you'd have to find justification. But the fact that he's comparing football with military, that makes no sense. So I'm a bit confused as for whether or not he knows what he's talking about, or he was just saying that to try to pull up some base, acknowledgement, or he's trying to be like Marjorie Taylor Greene. It's like, you can't play. That's the one covenant rule you don't play with as a conservative. When it comes to the military, you give dues, but you don't speak out of turn when it comes to, or try to, prevent them from getting funding or any sort. You just go through with the mantra. You don't play around with that. So I'm surprised he even tried to do that, and it's backfiring. And they will put him in line. Like, believe you me, they will. because you just don't do that. That's just something you're not supposed to do. But what do we know? What do we know?
So you know what I'm going to say next. I'm going to be thinking, when is his next election, and will he be paying a political price for this clown show that he's doing right here? You know, will he pay any price for this nonsense that he did, or
Man,
will?
it's Alabama, man. They don't know what the hell going on. They dumb as hell.
And MD, you're more than likely right, man. You're more. I mean, my God, it just makes you want to cry when you think about this stuff.
Or do they care? Is the other thing. Do they really care either? That's the other issue.
Very true. Very true. All right, so that's our lame duck for this week, number 11, Tommy Tuberville from Alabama, the senator. We'll see down the road if he gets reprimanded for his stunt. So the next segment will be the State of the Union, and we'll go to that right now.
Hey, I have a question. How are we, affording life right now?
A string of flash mob robberies across Los Angeles have retailers on edge. This video is from Irvine, California, just south of Los Angeles. It shows one of these robberies happening at a jewelry store. Robbers ran off with nearly $1 million worth of merchandise. Tina Patel with CBS News Los Angeles explains how local leaders are cracking down on these crimes.
In the last 2 weeks, a spike in flash mob robberies in at least a dozen high-end stores has prompted the city of L.A. to take action and launch a new organized retail task force to crack down on gang-led crime. Organized retail thefts including smash and grabs and grab-and-goes at several shops, including Nike, Gucci, Yves Saint Laurent, Kasubi, and the brazen robbery at a Nordstrom, where more than $300,000 worth of luxury items were stolen. Just some of the recent incidents.
No Angelino should feel like it is not safe to go shopping in Los Angeles.
There have been about 170 organized retail thefts in L.A. in the last 2 years, and this is not only a problem here. Across the country, shoplifting and organized retail theft cost retailers an estimated $69 billion a year. Despite a new federal law preventing the sale of stolen goods online, some still make it to online markets.
When these real high-end crimes are taking place of purses that might cost $10,000 or $25,000, they're being sold online.
Increase in retail theft is hitting not only Los Angeles, but cities around the country. Officials in Washington, D.C. say one local grocery store has suffered $500,000 in losses due to theft. Stores in Chicago, New York, and San Antonio are also feeling the impacts of shoplifting.
What's really crazy about this is that I was talking to somebody who works at Walmart a few days ago. My friend told me that they have seen way more people stealing in the past month than they've seen in the whole 3 years that they've worked at Walmart. And I said, what do you guys do when they steal? And they said, we turn our backs, because legally they can't do anything, but also because she doesn't fucking care. She sees how much fucking food is. She's not judging them, so she just doesn't say anything. And honestly, I don't judge them either. I'm not even surprised that people are stealing food at this point. People are literally starving out there. The only way we're making it is by couponing. So I'm not surprised that people are stealing food. And honestly, it's only going to get worse. If something isn't done about these corporations and their price gouging and calling it inflation, things are just literally going to continue to get worse. And people will continue to steal.
Why do they call it wage inflation, but they never call it profit inflation? I mean, the stock market has, doubled or tripled in that time? That money hasn't come down to normal people. Is it just that we're just very comfortable with that as the status quo?
Yeah, I think we have to think about the idea that there's not a perfect economy, but there is an economy.
What?
Right.
Sir?
Right. But there are a series of choices that we make, and they have results. And there's a real trade-off between what's good for capital and what's good for labor. You could argue over the course of...
And when does the what's good for labor part kick in?
Yeah, I think that's the real difficulty, is that the decisions we do make over and over again tend to be better for capital than they are for working people. When we talk about raising interest rates, whether that's needed or not, we know that there are downside impacts. The downside impacts is that economic growth is reduced. people lose their jobs. Those people who lose their jobs are at the lower end of the economic spectrum. So there are a lot of challenges and risks involved with the decisions we've made.
Here's what the workers have suffered. Automation has taken their jobs. Globalization has taken their jobs. Regulations have been removed. Union power has dissolved. So it's been one erosion after another of their power. They finally get a little bit of a foothold, and immediately the Fed says, we got to put a stop to this.
Yeah, I mean, the inflation hawks, we may not be giving them enough credit. I mean, I think the viewpoint is much more dangerous than just their cures for inflation, right? Their diagnosis is also a problem. The prescription is obliterate the labor market. We don't want that. But the diagnosis is Americans have it too well off. And that means nothing else.
And that's driving, and then they're going to want more. And we can't have that.
Right, and these are the same folks who are going to oppose, student debt cancellation because we can't put another dollar in Americans' pockets because, oh no, that will increase inflation.
Is a permanent underclass a necessity for American capitalism?
Well, it didn't used to be. I mean, there used to be a lot of rotation.
Well, we were able to change that, weren't we?
No, I mean, that is the single biggest problem with our system at the moment. There's not the mobility. The Horatio Alger story, if that means anything to this generation. It used to be,
Doesn't even mean anything to my generation.
No, it used to be, you think, you're born in poverty and you work hard and you're enterprising and you pull yourself up. And that's possible, but it gets harder and harder.
And that's part of the reason that Americans were tolerating such high levels of inequality and such high levels of persistent inequality, was the idea, okay, fine, we're okay with a few rich people as long as everybody has their shot at making it. But over the last few decades, it's become really clear that economic opportunity in this country is highly concentrated. I mean, where the stork drops you in the United States matters, what race you are, where you're born.
Okay, so we have a lot going on in there. We have the epidemic of high-end retail robberies, and it's happening all over, especially in California. We have people stealing for necessities like food and whatnot. And we go back to what I was saying, income inequality and all those other issues. What opinions do you have on the piece that we just saw? We'll start with MD.
Reparations. She basically made my point in that last sentence that she had. Yes. Do I believe in income inequality? No, I don't. From the aspect of pure capital, I don't. But I will not sit here and say I don't recognize a starting point for any group, a particular group of people. I understand that in order to succeed, you have to have a launching pad. The issue is there's a stark contrast, not in income, but in generational wealth. And generational wealth can be attributed to many factors. The point that needs to be emphasized, in my opinion, is that we're not seeing an aspect of upward mobility based on certain factors of livability. Livability is a lot of stuff. We're talking about housing tonight, so that's definitely a huge factor. If we can come up with a situation to where the aspect of income is not the main factor of or a main talking point, but the access to livability, then I think we can solve our problem. Now, if you put in our faces hyper consumerism, and to use shout out to Yanga to use some of his terminology, then I can see where there will be some disparagement. That's why you got Negroes busting out windows of the Nordstrom and the doggone Neiman Marcus. I get it, but that's an aspect of a vision of some type of cultural norm, as far as like how we think we should live, based off of how we actually live. So I'll just say that.
But are they busting up those rich stores and stealing high end stuff for their own personal gain, or are they doing it to sell it? You know what I'm saying? Like, they're not keeping it; they're like selling it.
It's both, Van Cat.
Okay. Okay.
Well,
Okay.
look, we see dudes out here. We go to the mall. We see 15, 6-year-old kids in a Gucci tracksuit and Gucci slides. It's both.
So this phenomenon it's been going on for a while, and it's organized, and they have tactics, and even some jobs I've worked at, we've been hit. So it's a very real problem. Stores are shutting down, especially in Portland, in San Francisco. I mean,
Walmart is
all over.
moving out of Chicago.
Right. In New York, the Target's like shutting down in several areas in New York, all because of the shoplifting. They're stating that the the reason for the shutting down is because of safety for the employees and the customers, the amount of loss that they're taking on a yearly basis. So it's just not worth staying open. So they're just shutting it down. So it's a tough situation, and it's just going to continue to go out of control. Ricardo, what do you think, or your thoughts on the issue?
I'm not a fan of these flash mob stealing vigilante. I wouldn't even say vigilantes, just nuisances that we see. I'm really perturbed by this because the problem now is when you have this kind of nonsense go on where you have these flash mobs like starting to inundate certain areas and whatnot, you now affect everything else that comes after. So if these establishments and businesses like the Targets and the Walmarts and whatnot start leaving a certain area, that now forces like someone who needs, certain products or certain items to not be able to get them in a central location. They have to go way out of their way to get stuff. Look, it's one thing to steal groceries. I can understand that, but when you have people start stealing shoes and high what you call it, high merchandises, like things from Nordstrom and whatnot. What how does that help you? Like, are you, again, Van Camp brings up a valid point. Are you then stealing these stuff to then resell them back to the black market, or what are you doing with these? Because the ends doesn't justify the means. Like, what are you guys doing? Because this is, to me, is worse than when they were burning down like certain buildings and stores and whatnot. That's worse than that, because now what you're going to force these companies to do is to force the automation issue more prominently. Like, okay, so we'll just shut down these stores in these areas and use this as an excuse to say, oh, they're endangering the employees' lives and whatnot, to then push the automation, which is I could just order from my phone and whatnot. The human interaction won't be there anymore. So I beg and plead people and if you know anyone that's a part of this nonsense, please stop it. It's not going to help nobody's cause here. Like, it doesn't make sense for you to be doing flash mob stealing to then do what? Like, they're still going to find you and reprimand you for what you're doing. Now, if you're stealing groceries, listen, the price of cereal and whatnot is through the roof. So I could understand people stealing groceries. Like, you're gonna live to survive. So at this point, none of us are surprised by people stealing groceries. But high merchandise like Nordstrom, Gucci belts, and all this nonsense, that's materialistic nonsense that no one really. That to me, that makes no sense. What are you doing with that? That could be destroyed. Food you need to eat. So make conscious decisions, people, and stop the nonsense that I see y'all out there doing. Like, flash mob mentality doesn't help the cause, because once y'all start getting killed by police, we're gonna hear people now going, oh, they killed them and blah blah. And most of these are like little kids. So where are the parents and all? I mean, there's so much questions that I have to have question here, but we don't have enough time. So yeah, what's the point?
Right. So we got Mike on the panel. What's up, Mike?
What's up, gentlemen? My name is Royal Rightness Others.
It's great to have you back. What's your thoughts on the issue?
I feel like this was. I think you tried to bait me on this one, so I had to come in. Gentlemen, I am disgusted with all of you, except for Van Cat because he hasn't gone yet. Looking at this from the side of the corporations, I think this is wonderful. I think the best thing about this is that the people who are being affected most are the corporations. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not 2 years old. I understand this is going to trickle down and hurt the regular people. But let's see where this started from. This started when the COVID hit, and every business, in the words of the great recently deceased comedian and philosopher Patrice O'Neill, the bread people raised their prices just because they didn't want to feel like punks. Milk raised their price, so I'm gonna raise my price too. That's what everybody did. Everything didn't get extra expensive out of nowhere. They raised their prices, just like Walmart stopped opening 24 hours. They could have went back to it, but they didn't. Why? Because they saw how it helped their bottom line. And let's be clear, when it comes to these businesses, especially Walmart, their bottom line was not hurting. Their bottom line was fine. Even through COVID, they were fine. I know everyone likes to say everybody had to tighten their belts. No, they didn't. They were fine. McDonald's went from 20,000 100 billion to 10,000 100 billion. I know that's not a number. I'm being facetious. I'm just saying these corporations made their money still because people were sick and still going to get a Happy Meal.
Thanks.
So this is the other side. Okay, this is the other side of what happens when you continually step on people and pee in their hair and tell them it's the brand new Jarnies Fructus shampoo. Because this is what it is. These young people have decided, these rich people are continually showing their richness. And let's be clear, I understand MD said, you see these young kids out here wearing that Gucci. Yo, real talk, a lot of them wearing fake Gucci. If you want to know where all this stuff is really going, it's going to upper class white women who don't want to pay for bags, who don't want to pay full price. Because the one thing I learned being around rich people is they like to keep their money. As much flash and foolishness they have, and everything they got, they paid 50% off for it. I promise you. Everything they do, they try to make a deal to make more money. Only poor people pay full price for stuff. Anybody that has money knows I'm telling the truth. They know it. These people get credit just so they don't have to pay, just so they can pay lower interest rates, just so they can get in they just want to get their foot in the door so they can pay lower prices and be known. If you've ever seen any athlete or any celebrity wearing the flyest of fly, they didn't pay for it. They didn't pay for anything. They know that being seen with the product is like a commercial for the product, so the companies give it to them for free. The only people they gouge and they fleece is us. If you go to Japan, or you can see that you can get Windows 11 for about $2-3. You come to America, it's $150.
Price gouging.
You feel me? That's what it is. And if you gouge a populace that much, they're going to make. I'm happy they're not robbing mom and pops. This is what I said during the OJ trial. At the OJ riots. Why y'all robbing poor people's stores?
Facts.
Go rob the rich. Rob the rich, because Neiman Marcus, guess what Neiman Marcus has? They got insurance. Bet money.
Very true.
Mom and pops don't have insurance.
True.
Neiman Marcus got insurance. Go rob them, make them tap the banks, and then let the bank and them have to deal with that drama. I don't care. I don't feel sorry for them. I used to, when Walmart first started selling the 60 pack of the 60 count eggs, it was $2. I bought the first one because I was there when they put them out. Because I didn't have a job and I was a stay-at-home dad, and I was going out there because my daughter wanted to learn to make omelets. And I was there when they put it out. I was like, 60 eggs? Who gonna buy 60 eggs? And then I saw the price was $2.82. I said, good Lord, I gotta buy 60 eggs. And I bought them all. And I kept buying them.
They was like that because they was eggs from Robot Chicken.
You know what? Guess what? Robot Chicken.
$2 or something.
Robot Chicken is one of my favorite cartoons, so I'll take them robot eggs.
Yeah, that's where the eggs come from for $2 and some change.
Probably, but as soon as the eggs started selling, I started watching the price of eggs go up, and I think during COVID it was $30 for the 60 count eggs, and I almost cried. And eggs didn't get more expensive. Eggs didn't there wasn't a shortage of eggs because you know how they like to say chicken wings used to be like you can get them for 10 cents, then they were 50 cents, and now it's $1 a wing. And they're saying it's a wing shortage. How is it a wing shortage when I'm still getting all this chicken?
Facts.
Ain't no chicken breast shortage. I get a whole lot of chicken breast. Chicken titty fine, but ain't no wings.
Yeah, right, chicken titties.
Chicken titties.
You feel me? Is there a new kind of chicken I don't know about that's born with no wings? I'm confused. No, same thing with oxtail. When it was just poor black people. When it was just poor black people that like oxtail, everybody was like, oh, we don't like those Negro foods. Ew. Then two white people, stupid Negroes led two white people to the cookout. They ate some oxtails. Now oxtail is $50 for two.
Exactly. Oxtail, the highest item on the menu.
This is what I'm saying. And they price gouging
more than steak.
This is what I'm saying. Oxtail. They act like oxtail is a lobster. You got to choose. Do I want oxtail or do I want 15 shrimp? Like that's how it goes now.
Exactly.
It's insanity. You keep doing this price gouging.
But oxtail is good though. Oxtail is good.
When my mom makes it, it is quite delicious, sir. You get you a pressure cooker, work it out even faster. But I digress. I am disgusted by the price gouging. I'm disgusted by the corporations, and I'm even more disgusted by Republicans who I ain't even gonna say Republicans, by rich white people who stand by and act like they don't like this when this is what their bread and butter is. I always tell people a story about the city in Mexico called Molar City. People always go, what's Molar City? And I tell them, there was a bunch of undocumented Mexicans who came to America, were raised over here and became dentists. The people in Texas deported them, sent them over to Texas. Sent them over the border to Mexico. All the dentists got together, made a city called Molar City, and now all the Republicans from Texas crossed the border to go to Molar City to get their teeth done for 50% off. These are the same people that kicked them out of their country. Now they go over the country to get their stuff done just to screw over the American dentists that live in America. You see the logic? Mm-hmm. There is none. There's no logic. They'll do whatever they want as long as it fits their ideology and it makes their pockets fatter. That's it. That's why I don't care what people say. I don't want to hear about, it's really my honor and my morals, because everybody knows morals have a $sign on them. Because everybody sat back while that little island of little kids was getting touched, and ain't nobody say nothing. Everybody believes in Jesus until it affects their pocket. And Jesus was the first person to say, get closer to me by being poor. The more stuff you got, the harder it is to follow.
Hey,
if I said anything wrong, let me know.
Mike,
you said nothing wrong. I mean, this is a great show.
I'm gonna let you rock tonight, Mike. I ain't gonna say nothing. I'm good.
This is a great show. I mean, but hashtag chicken titties has changed my life.
I said chicken titties.
Just let you know right now.
Hashtag the chicken titties.
I said chicken titties. My bad.
Hashtag chicken titties.
I just be going off sometimes. My bad.
All right. So we're about to end the show, but before we end the show, we like to do one little video. Last video of the night. It's the nightcap, and we'll be back.
I said, the last thing I'd ever do is give myself a pardon.
Mr. President, if you were reelected, would you pardon yourself?
I could have pardoned myself. Do you know what? I was given an option to pardon myself. I could have pardoned myself when I left. People said, would you like to pardon yourself? I had a couple of attorneys that said, you can do it if you want. I had some people that said, it would look bad if you do it, because I think it would look terrible. I said, here's the story. These people are thugs. Horrible people, fascists, Marxists, sick people. They've been after me from the day I came down the escalator with Melania, and I did a great job as president. People were acknowledged. Great economy, great jobs, great this, great that, rebuilt the military, Space Force, everything. I could go on forever. Let me just tell you. I said the last thing I'd ever do is give myself a pardon.
All right. What are viewpoints on that? I'll start with MD and we'll work around.
What was he gonna pardon himself on when he was president? He wasn't charged with anything.
I guess what he's trying to say is that he wants to just put a pardon out there.
Guilt.
So yeah.
Guilt.
Well, I think he's just putting it out there so that when something gets attached to him as a crime, he could just universally use it to pardon him out of anything.
Yeah, I don't think it worked like that.
Yeah.
It don't work like that. I'm sorry.
I know. It's crazy, but he makes up his own rules all the time.
And also, let me put this out because there's a consensus saying that even if Trump get elected, that he can pardon himself. That's simply not true.
Nope.
Look at what presidential immunity says. It clearly says that you cannot be immune if you are a felon. It clearly says. So if he's convicted before the election, there will be no presidential immunity. In fact, there will be no presidency campaign once he hit the threshold of the jail cell.
Yep.
What country do y'all see? This is why I'm coming on the show. Y'all gonna kill me. What country y'all
go
live
ahead,
in?
Mike.
What
go
country
ahead.
do y'all live
Speak
in?
your mind, Mike.
They will just move stuff around, and if that don't work, he'll just say, "We'll take it to the Supreme Court." And Scrotus is gonna do whatever he wants. What country are y'all living in? Did y'all not live through Reagan and Bush? Did y'all not live through Reagan and Bush? They just gonna move it around. They gonna do what they want. Y'all laughing? I'm 100% dead serious. They gonna do what they want.
I gotta stand on the Constitution, Mike. I'm sorry.
The problem is they stand on it too. They just use harder cleats. They don't give a damn about liberty, sir. They give a damn about power and them keeping it. They don't care. They will bring up the Constitution, show it on TV, and be like, "Oh no, there was a smudge here. That doesn't say they're free. It says free before 11. Get them niggers locked back up." They don't care. It doesn't matter what they do. They got Clarence Thomas leading the way. They paid off Negro and Scrotus. I like to say Scrotus because it sounds better because they nuts. They gonna do what they want to do. I love y'all so much that y'all stand on principles and y'all believe in liberty and you believe in uprightness and righteousness. I'm sorry, you guys are outdated. You don't exist anymore. The second they invented the phrase, what's that? Oh, you see, I'm going numb. When they invented that phrase, what's that thing? That's another word for lie. Venkat, you know.
Yeah, it's alternative facts.
The second they made up alternative facts and it got accepted into the lexicon of America, it was over. Because I can blatantly say a lie and you can go, "No, look, I have an Encyclopedia Britannica from 1984. It shows right here that that's not true." And they could just go, "Well, it's an alternative fact. We'll just agree to disagree." And there's 50% of the nation that'll go, "That sounds about right."
Makes no sense.
It makes no sense.
Like a true fatalist, man. I commend you, bro.
I'm as much a fatalist as you are an individualist, sir. Everything you said on this show,
I accept that.
As you should, because it's real talk. I've listened to everything you said today, and all the stuff you say is in line with mine. The only difference is you ignore the step 3. You say step 1, you say step 2, you ignore step 3 because it looks too dark. You stop there. I'm just carrying out the stuff you say to the furthest dimension. That's all I'm doing. If you guys stop stopping, you go, "Well, somebody needs to talk to Netanyahu." And I go, "No one's going to talk to Netanyahu. The Democrats are too pussy and the Republicans want him to blow them all the way to hell." See, you guys stop at step 2. I'm going to keep going because if Trump get in office, I said it in the group chat. He not gonna stop that. He gonna stop the food aid, but he gonna send them extra missiles. Blow all them brown people up. That's what America's been good for.
Yeah. I said that. I agree with that.
Okay, and then that's going to start a problem in America because no, you can't tell me the gays aren't going to jump up and do something. And then it's going to split the gays up because the gays don't realize they're not a monolith because the white men in the gays they're still white men.
Exactly.
Even if they tuck their penis, they still white men. And then the black gays and the black trans and the Spanish trans and all of them, they're going to realize y'all never had our back. Just like black women are learning white women never had their back. And it's going to cause a divide there, which is going to cause a divide in America, which is going to see where I come with fatalism.
Yep.
You see how it works? You guys stop at 2. I go all the way to 4. Come to 4 with me.
Yeah, I'm not trying to go to Mad Max land. I'm trying to stop. I'm trying to stop. So
I'm gonna say this, then I'm gonna shut up. The people in the Mad Max land, they didn't want to go there either. You had no freaking choice.
Just walk away. I got you.
You can walk away, but the dirt gonna follow you, my G. Wherever you walk, if this whole planet go to hell, unless you got a ticket to the space station, you're gonna be in it. I just hope you got enough weapons.
I as an individualist, I'll be in it alone.
I hope not, because I'm trying to come up there and visit if you got an extra woman.
All right, so we're going to wrap up the show. But before we wrap up the show, we're going to go to Ricardo, get his response on it.
See, if it was me, he would have just forgot.
Oh, Lord. I'm going to go to Ricardo, and then Ricardo, you can then also go into your last words, and then we'll go around the room.
All right, it's good to see Mike back on the panel. We did miss you.
Righteous others.
Yeah, you got me this compatibility. Righteous others is panel.
We can't keep up with all his patents. He has too many patents.
But yeah, great show tonight. The same viewpoints that I've had. I'm in the middle. So you have Mike the Fiddlist that's at the end and the individualist at the beginning. So I'm in the middle. I just need I need someone to give me what was the solution. That's basically my stance on things. What's the solution here? How do we fix it? How do we get about? Like there's still hope. Like Obama said, with the audacity of hope, we could hope for things. Even though it's bleak. So again, I don't like the path that we're heading down where you can't speak about certain things when it comes to that conflict that is abroad. But I can hope that we move forward past certain things and hope my president, because he's everybody's president, does step in and say, listen, y'all need to stop this because, at this point, it's out ahead. We know it's wishful thinking, but one can hope. Obama did say, the predecessor did say, y'all can hope. So let's hope. Let's hope and pray.
Wow. Did y'all hear that? I'm going to do mine right now, Van Cat, so I get out the way. I hope everybody out there heard this. His solution was let's all hope and pray. That's how he ended it, because that's how bad it is out here. I want everyone, I'm going to try to convert some people today. Come to the Church of Fatalism. All right. I want you all to understand. I want you all to do something for me. Do something for me real fast. I want you to close your eyes. Everybody on the panel in the chat, close your eyes. Think however old you are right now. Take away 15 years from how old you are right now.
Mm-hmm.
Remember how old you were 15 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Think about what life was like 15 years ago. And now tell that version of you what life is like today. And then you try to convince that person that we're not going down the drains. You can't. If you tell 15 years ago you about what life is right now.
Oh, you're 100% right on that, Mike.
Yep.
Hey, I'm 100%
15
right on
years
most things.
ago, yeah, I agree with this. You're right about that. My God.
Yeah. Y'all think I just be talking. I think everything I say through. That's why Mike is always right. I think it ain't just me, I'm not just spitballing. I really think about it. 15 years ago, life was nothing like it is now. If you try to convince that I remember in the Clinton years when you would lose a job and you'd be like, I'm gonna get one tomorrow.
Pretty much.
You feel me?
Yeah.
We just had Donald Trump as a president, and now we have the president, the idiot bumbling fool that was pushed on Obama. That he needed. Think about that. He needed him. He needed this idiot. That's how bad. He needed the guy who's so lame. His wife has got bigger balls than him in ketchup. That's who this dude is. You know his wife run, boy, make me the omelet. Okay, honey. You know, vice president. Nigga, I'm ketchup. Okay, my fault. But all right, I'm gonna shut up. Y'all go ahead. I'll be quiet. Oh. And I cannot look at Trump and not think chicken titties. That's gonna be his name for the rest of my life. Trump is chicken titties.
He said chicken titties. I'm dead.
He looked like he got some chicken titties, bro. I'm just trying to say.
For sure.
Unseasoned too. Unseasoned.
You have to throw in the unseasoned too.
Just pink, pale, and no black pepper at all. Ugh.
All right, MD, your final thoughts.
Yeah, man, I can't back that up, man. I'm gonna just say peace to everybody. You know what I'm saying? This was probably, in my opinion, the best show that we done did in TFP. This show was great. We had some pertinent topics that we discussed on the long-term solutions, and you know that's what it's about. That's what politics is about.
And then I come in the end and mess it up.
Yeah, you did, yeah. But you know, government is the game, politics is how it's played. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, let's do that.
Can I ask MD a question?
What's up, man? What's going on?
Who's in your background?
What you mean?
I hear that person talking. I can't tell if it's a kid or a woman.
No, that ain't me. That's Ricardo, I think.
No, that ain't me.
No, it's not. That's you.
Ain't nobody. I'm in my truck. Ain't nobody in there.
Who was in your truck?
Let me
I was hearing it too. I was thinking it was Ricardo.
No, it ain't me. No, it's
right, maybe it's Van Cat, because I know it ain't me. My daughter's doing her homework.
Oh yeah. I was hearing something in the background myself. I was thinking, you know, maybe it was one of the chilling in the background. You know, I ain't know.
And you know what? I'm just gonna go ahead and move past it. Whatever y'all doing, y'all business is your business. I'm gonna mind mine.
Yeah.
I'm gonna stay out of it.
Hey,
Whatever little stuff y'all doing is y'all business. My fault.
I'm cooling it, man. I'm in the thought box, man. Ain't nothing going on in here.
I hear you. That's go. Hey, and when we go to court, I'm gonna say that too.
Damn.
Nothing going on in the thought box. It's just him chilling.
Oh. All right. Well, it was a great show tonight. I do have to again. We dedicate this show to Tequila.
Yes,
again with her tough times right now. So we want to send out all the good positive energy and vibes to Tequila. There is the on the bottom of the screen. You have her. Oh God, what is it called again? Cash App.
The Cash App. Yeah.
Yeah. Cash App. Her Cash App is right down on the bottom. And if you can donate, that's great. And you know, she's just an awesome person, and we hate to see these things happen, but we're wishing her well with everything that's going on, and we hope to hear from her soon. All right, so for MD, for Ricardo, for Mike,
his
who's always right,
his royal rightness others, sir.
Right. so many brands. Mike got too many brands. So great show tonight. We'll see you guys next week. And for everyone on Tape Fist, have a great evening, and we will be back with more. Peace.
Peace out.
Peace out.
Love you, Tequila.
She just said a terrible thing. You know what she said? Shout it out, because I don't want to. Okay, you're not allowed to say, and I never expect to hear that from you again. She said, I never expect to hear that from you again. She said he's. That's terrible. Terrible.